entertain a motion for the approval of the agenda.
So moved.
It's been moved. Is there a second?
Second.
It's been moved and seconded. Is there any discussion on the agenda for October 2nd? Seeing none, all those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, abstentions, the agenda is approved. I would entertain a motion for the approval of the minutes of March 27th and September 18th of 2019.
So moved.
They've been moved as a slate. Is there a second?
Second.
They've been moved and seconded. Is there any discussion on the minutes for either meeting? Seeing none, all those in favor of the approval of the minutes of March 27th and September 18th, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, abstentions, the minutes are approved. Reports of officers, Superintendent Bangora.
Thank you, President Board and Commissioners, and welcome everybody. I'll start off with a quick update on our information and technology. The document management solutions that we've been talking about, the project team of 10 individuals from across the organization reviewed RFP responses and viewed demos and have selected a vendor that will meet our needs. We will plan to enter into contract negotiations in the coming week and hopefully bring a solution to the board in November. So to begin with, athletics, aquatics, and ice arenas. So youth sports. Winter youth sports registration began on October 23rd. Stay active and play with your friends by registering for basketball, hockey, wrestling at your local parks. Adult sports. Adult fall tennis lessons are coming to an end. Fall tennis ended the season event is this Saturday at Kenwood Park from 9:30 a.m. to 11 o'clock a.m. Currently, 29 participants are registered. Quick update on aquatics. Swimming is going strong at Phillips Aquatic Center. We're encouraged to come out and join open family swim times, masters and distance swimming lessons, senior fitness, junior swim club, and a whole lot more. So if you haven't had a chance to get to the pool, it is a really amazing place, and it's a great place to be in the winter to stay healthy. So please come and join. Ice arenas, well actually golf. But golf courses have held over 125 tournaments in 2019, and more still to come in October. Various companies and organizations have enjoyed facilities. What's going on? Sorry. No idea what's going on. Sorry about that. Many of the events have also enjoyed food and beverages, receptions before and after golf, taking advantage of the reception halls at Columbia and Worth. Recreation centers and programs. New stay home alone safety classes are at McRae for 8 to 11-year-olds. And then a quick update on Farview Park hosted a grand opening ribbon cutting ceremony for their new teen lounge on Thursday, September 26th. Farview rec staff worked collaboratively along with IT maintenance and service area manager to execute this project. The space will primarily be for drop-in teen programming. However, from 3 to 5 p.m., it will be used as a homework help, tutoring, and computer lab space for youth of all ages. The teen lounge offers 3 desktop computers with internet, 2 wall-mounted Samsung Smart TVs, 2 Xbox One consoles, a Sports XL portable, Bluetooth speaker, and a microphone hookup. 2 sofas, chairs, tables, and board games. So the grand opening was enjoyed by over 60 teens. So wonderful, and I'm sure the pictures kind of show it, but a great addition to Farview Park. So Hui Nguyen and Sarah Williams put a lot of time, energy, and passion into this new teen room and deserve many kudos and thank yous for their hard work to create this great space for our teens. Nice job. Rec Plus children at Armitage Park have a kindness committee and a kindness bulletin board, which is pictured. A different child is chosen each day to be in front of the room, and the group says kind things about them, such as, "You are a fast runner, and I like your teeth." And that's pretty amazing. The kindness committee and kindness affirmation bulletin boards are some of the activities that help children learn ways to build community. And if we all could have a kindness board up, that would be pretty amazing. Forestry. Now that it's fall, forestry staff will begin picking up water bags and that were placed on newly planted trees last spring. Residents are still encouraged to continue weekly watering into October, so please keep watering these trees. and I think it's pretty exciting. I believe that's Stewart Park, which I'm really excited to see that happening there. Environmental management. High water levels. Due to the recent rains, high water levels have increased across Minneapolis. Lake levels at Lake Harriet broke a 100-year record in August, and several other lakes are near record levels. Groundwater and surface water levels have been elevated since spring snowmelt and remain high. Elevated lake levels cause excess erosion on shorelines and stream banks and impact past youth. So again, very high levels this year. So Stevens Square Outlook Garden Barbecue. Volunteers at Overlook Garden celebrated the season with a vegan barbecue on September 24th. Community members were invited to attend, tour the garden, and sign up to become a garden volunteer. Overlook Garden fun facts. Park steward since 1994. Drought-tolerant native pollinated gardens are there, and they're part of the 2011 NPRB Native Enhancement Initiative. And with that, President Bourne, that's all the reports I have.
Thank you, Superintendent. During reports of officers. Seeing none, we'll move on to the consent agenda. I would entertain a resolution or a motion for items 2019-329 through 2019-335. Is there a motion?
So moved.
It's been moved. Is there a second? Is there a second?
Second.
It's been moved and seconded. Is there any discussion on
President Bourne.
the consent items? Deputy Superintendent.
President Bourne, I just want to confirm, I believe 2019-329 was actually pulled from the agenda. My apology for not making that one clear.
Your note is exceedingly clear, and I just missed it. So by consent, I would take the motion with the removal of 2019-329. Is there consent? I'm not seeing any objection. 2019-329 is pulled. Is there any discussion on the remainder of the consent agenda items? Seeing none, all those in favor of resolutions 2019-330 through 335, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Abstentions? The consent agenda carries. Moving on to, we have no reports of standing committees this evening. Moving on to unfinished business, I would entertain a resolution for 2019-292, which is a second and final reading of the resolution amending ordinances PB 2-34 and PB 10-25 of the Minneapolis Park and Recreation Board Code of Ordinances to correct typographical errors. Is there a motion?
I would move motion 2019-292, the second and final reading of resolution amending ordinances PB 2-34 and PB 10-25 of the Minneapolis Park and Recreation Board Code of Ordinances to correct typographical errors.
It has been moved. Is there a second? The second and final reading has been moved and seconded. Is there any discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor of the second and final reading of 2019-292, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Abstentions? The 2019-292 has passed. I would entertain resolution 2019-293.
I'll move 293, second and final reading, a resolution repealing specific ordinances of the Minneapolis Park and Recreation Board Code of Ordinances that are superseded by Minnesota state law.
The second and final reading has been moved. Is there a second?
Second.
It's been moved and seconded. Is there any discussion? Commissioner Meyer.
Thank you. I do have one question for council about one of the ordinances. I did review all of these. So these are ordinances where the state law is similar to or supersedes, but it seems like one of them might actually be consequential, and that would actually legalize some things that are not legal now. So PB 997 for us, it's about hitching rides, says that no person riding upon any bicycle shall attach himself to any vehicle upon a parkway. And then the state version is no person shall hitch a toboggan, hand sled, bicycle, or other similar device onto any motor vehicle or streetcar while being used on a highway. So my question for council is, in the state law, does the definition of highway cover parkways, or would be making a substantive change here?
Council.
Mr. President, Commissioner Meyer, I guess I call on Chief O'Hara. This sounds like something he worked on this with Luana Mosley, and while I look at the, we can give you the site to that ordinance again, I'll look at it. Maybe Chief O'Hara could help answer. What was the park board ordinance number?
It's PB 997, and the Minnesota statute is 169.46.
987?
9-97.
Chief.
President Moore, Commissioner Meyer, I think we would be best to wait for Council Rice to look up the definition of highway under that statute.
Well, I would ask Chief O'Hara, would you feel your officers have the authority to enforce a no hitching statute when it refers to a highway rather than a parkway?
President Bourne, Council Rice, our officers have authority to enforce all state laws. So if the definition of highway encompasses parkway as the statute is written, we would be able to enforce that. And my sense is that it does, but I think that we should look to the definitions of that particular statute to confirm that.
Thank you, Chief. Commissioner Meyer.
I would move to postpone this to get clarification on that question, just to make sure that we don't inadvertently do something we didn't intend to do.
If there is no objection, we can postpone this until after open time. That would give Council Rice an opportunity to do a little bit of research and come back and let us know if we need more time past that. So with no objection, we will postpone this until after open time. Moving on, we have 2 items for new business. We'll start with our citywide survey presentation and see how far we get in that. Ms. Summers?
President Bourne, Commissioners, it's a pleasure to be here tonight. I always start talking before I do the... It's not escaping. Okay. I'm Dawn Summers, Director of Communications and Marketing, and my department is the one who coordinated this year's citywide survey. Robin Smothers isn't here tonight, but she worked very closely with the executive team and our vendor, Morris Leatherman Company, on the survey this year. As you know, the park system attracts more than 26 million visitors annually and serves more than 400,000 Minneapolis residents. The survey results are very positive and show the community's support for the park system, the services we provide, including the youth that we serve and the programs that we provide. So I'd like to introduce Peter Leatherman from Morris Leatherman Company, who is going to present a high-level overview of the survey results. His PowerPoint presentation that you'll be seeing, as well as a copy of the actual questions and survey data, will be shared on the website tonight and will be shared with commissioners following his presentation. So.
Thank you, and welcome, Mr. Leatherman.
Wonderful. It's a pleasure to be here with you this evening. And just so I'm clear, I have 10 minutes and then for a break, correct?
We'll take a break.
All righty. To get underway and review with everybody what we undertook. What we're looking at tonight is the overall results of the survey. And I'll explain a little bit more on a sampling technique that we did with the overall sample when we look at the demographics. We spoke with 500 randomly selected residents across the city of Minneapolis. The interviews were completed in August in between the state fair and going back to school. We found people willing to talk with us once we convinced them we weren't selling anything or voter IDing them at this point. And so we were able to keep the non-response rate at 4.5%. We had almost 50% that were completed via appointment. So it's when it's convenient for the person to take the survey, not when it's convenient for us to give the survey. That way we get rid of some inherent biases, especially those with an active lifestyle when you're looking at a park and recreation study. The average interview time was 23 minutes, and now the statistical caveat on a 500 sample is plus or minus 5% or 4.5% in 95 out of 100 cases. I thought I'd put up some demographics so you could see the profile of the community as a whole. The first set of bars look at the residential longevity. 14% indicated they'd been in the community for less than 5 years, while 19% were here for over 30 years. The average longevity for a resident right now is about 13 and a half years. 25% reported that they had children in their household. The age, 33% fall into the 18 to 34 year group, while 25% are over the age of 55. The typical resident on this one came in at about 42 years of age. Continuing with demographics, looking at household income, we had 28% report to us that their household income annually was less than $35,000. The largest section was 40%, between $35,000 and $75,000, and 18% reported an annual household income of over $75,000. This is the first time in all the times of doing surveys for the district that we actually have more renters than owners now. 49% homeowners, 51% reported that they were renters. Place of employment, 9% worked for a public entity. The majority of the sample worked for a business or corporation. 4% owned their own business or were self-employed. 19% were retired, and 10% were working. What was the main language spoken in the house? English by 81%, Spanish by 6%, Hmong by 3%, Somali by 6%, and then scattered by 4%. This isn't to say that other languages aren't spoken in the house. This was what's the main language spoken in the house. Now, the ethnicity of the respondent was ascertained, and this is the breakdown within the overall sample. Now, in looking at it, I mentioned earlier in talking about the methodology, what we did in 2015 and we did again this time is we did what we call a balloon sample. If we look at Asian and Pacific Islanders in this sample, in a 500 sample, it's 5%. It's 25 people, roughly. And so in order to be able to look at statistically significant differences between groups, we'd like to have a cell size of at least 100. So we did this 500 sample, and then we did balloon samples of the ethnicities so that we have also in the data that we're still processing and going through, we can look at each of these individual ethnicities with cell sizes of 100 each to look at statistically significant differences. 25% indicated that they were first or second generation immigrant. And the final set of demographics, male, female, 48-52. The one thing we did control on this to make sure that the survey was stratified was by commissioner district. So we have 83 in each commissioner district, but then one of you got a bonus one to get the sample to 500. I can't remember which district got that. And then the service area, that's something we internally code. We'd crack zip code and the nearest cross street because most folks have no idea what their service area is for the park district. So southwest was 36%, followed by the south, and then the north and northeast were approximately a third of the sample, with the downtown area at 10% or 9%. So what does the survey say? We always open up surveys when we are working with cities, park systems, school districts, what have you, with a couple open-ended questions to gauge what people are thinking without us having introduced ideas and thoughts in their mind. So first off, what do they like most? Now they can tell us 10 different things. What we're coding is their number one response, the top of the mind response. And your folks, 1 in 4, 23% coalesce on the variety of offerings. When we probed on that, was it programs, was it facilities? It was everything. It was the variety of everything offered. 16% specifically stated trails, 11% specifically stated programs, 10% talked about convenient location to their residents, and 10% talked about the natural areas that the park district provides the residents in the community. Everything else in single digits. And as you're going to see, as we go through with residents, they have high expectations on everything. Everything's important for them. And one of the core values is keeping that variety at the top of the mind response for almost 25%. Now, if we ask what they like most, we typically follow up with what they like least. Now, the good news is, and we consider an organization to have a serious issue if you have 20 to 25%, 1 in 4, 1 or 5 people coalescing around one response in an open-ended manner. You don't have anything. You don't have anything that hits double digits. Okay, you have things that we would label as pre-issues, concerns, things to be watched. What leads the list? Litter at 9%, 8% rising crime, crowded, which is a good problem to have, but at 6% pointed to that, what they like least. The maintenance at 5%. But really nothing jumps out as a glaring concern. Typically when we see these results, it's not something that we can tell a client and say, this needs to be fixed, residents are very concerned. You're really fine-tuning the equalizer to make sure that everything remains running well. Now, what's their overall impression of the Minneapolis Park and Recreation System? In 2015, it was 94%. In 2015, it was 94%. In 2019, it was 91%. Not a statistically significant drop. Still, that 91% over the last 4 years of surveying in cities across the state on their park systems, it is among the top 5 that we have. It's an outstanding rating, and you still have more than 25% rating it enthusiastically so in the excellent rating. What about the appearance and maintenance? A little bit of a shift here. Nobody went into the poor category, but a bit of an uptick in the only fair category. And tracing it back in the data so far and looking at what they like least, it was focused on the trash and litter. If they said that that was what they liked least, they were more likely to say only fair as the appearance and maintenance. But overall, it was 93%, it's currently 81%. Norm on this one is time goes and park facilities across the metro area and across the state age, the norm on that is 75%. So you're still above the norm on that one, and you do have 30% that are rating it enthusiastically so. 4 new questions we added in was pulling out 4 specific services and asking for an evaluation. Excellent, good, only fair, or poor. For the purposes of the chart, I collapsed this down into 2 colors, the blue being the favorable, the red being unfavorable, and we're hoping to see a sea of blue instead of a red riptide. Outstanding ratings on all 4, but especially on snow removal, on trails and sidewalks. After the previous winter, many communities had negative ratings increase on snow removal, trails, sidewalks, streets, what have you. The norm unfavorable right now on that is 25%. People have long memories on trails and sidewalks not being plowed. And so an outstanding rating on the park maintenance of sidewalks, trails, and boulevards and trees. Should I wrap it there as a break point?
Why don't we?
Okay.
Perfect. Thank you, Mr. Leatherman. We'll bring you back in a few moments. The time is 5:30 p.m. For those of you who are joining us, 5:30 we break for a public comment period that we call open time. It's our opportunity to hear from the community on pretty much any topic that you would like to make sure that the board is paying attention to. Just a couple of guidelines for open time before we get started. This is our time to listen, so we don't debate folks that are coming up here. So you may have a question and you won't get a response from the dais tonight. If you have a very pointed or particular question, I may refer you to somebody on staff that might be able to help you this evening. But in general, it's our opportunity to just listen. We have open time for roughly 15 minutes every meeting with time to be allocated by the board chair. I have 19 people signed up. So we're going to go a little bit over the 15 minutes. We're going to allocate 90 seconds per speaker just to make sure that folks have a little bit of time to get their message out. There are only, excuse me, there are only two things that we don't hear on public comment for open time, and those are items around pending litigation or personnel issues. If you do have opinions that you want to share with the board or executive staff around those things, we would like to hear them, but out of respect for the privacy of the individuals that may be involved, the best way to make sure that the board gets attention on pending litigation or personnel issues is through directly communicating with the executive staff or the Board of Commissioners. And all of our contact information is on the website for minneapolisparks.org. So that being said, we'll start open time. I'll call your name, and then you have 90 seconds to address the board. Our first speaker is Angie Oma. Angie, if you would come forward and state your name, and if you're comfortable, your address for the public record. You have 90 seconds to address the board, and welcome.
My name is Angie Oma Siegel, and I am a trans woman. I have worked as a seasonal gardener in your public formal gardens for the last 4 seasons. I'm here today because I have been wronged by employees of Park and Recreation. I have been exposed to harmful pesticides, and I have been discriminated against by MPR staff. I have filed formal complaints with your private investigator, and I have filed the same complaint through the Department of Civil Rights, and still I have not received a response from your HR department. Why? During my time at the park, I have experienced homophobia, transphobia, racism, and xenophobia. I was exposed on 2 occasions to high concentrations of glyphosate and broadleaf herbicides, along with other employees and over 300 different volunteers. I have witnessed numerous environmental catastrophes and careless dumping of chemicals and debris into our park system waterways and swamp spaces by MPR employees. I have been subjected to sexual harassment by an employee and nothing was done. It was reported. I have been misgendered and refused proper training to my coworkers on trans and non-binary identities. I was called man, bro, one of the boys, and a tranny by internal stewards and full-time employees. I have been mistreated by your HR staff, your management staff, and your steward staff based in blatant discriminatory ways and ideals. I have been intimidated by management, and your HR staff has referred to me as that person instead of the proper name and pronouns that they were given. I'm a passionate and educated horticulturist and wildlife enthusiast, and educated on IPM cautions and regulatory services. I know I have been wronged, and I know the public has been wronged. I have picture evidence, witness testimony, and reported evidence. I have been wronged by people in your organization, and so has the fragile ecosystem and people of the Parks and Rec community. What will you do about this, I ask you?
Thank you.
Thank you for your time.
Thank you, Angie. It sounds like you might have a couple of things that are already reported to the park board. I'm going to refer you directly to Superintendent Al Bangora. He'll find some time to connect with you tonight before the meeting is over. Our next speaker is, and Superintendent, would you just raise your hand so she knows? Okay. Our next speaker is Teddy Bowler. Teddy, are you here this evening? Teddy, if you would come forward, state your name, and if you're comfortable, your address for the public record. You have 90 seconds to address the board, and welcome.
Thank you. My name's Teddy, live at 1642 Charles Avenue, St. Paul, Minnesota. Hi, my name's Teddy. I'm 51, and I'm a skater. I also ride BMX bikes, scooters, and aggressive inline blades. I started skateboarding at 35, BMX at 7, scooting at 48, and been playing hockey off and on since I was 5 years old. And I also play hockey in my aggressive inlines and on my skateboard. I'm here today to talk about the importance of having the Elliott Skate Park project done and other skate park projects done in the Twin Cities area. Sorry for the numbers. Elliott Skate Park is home of some of the top street skaters in the Twin Cities area, home of the National Go Skateboarding Day. There's a meeting spot where everyone meets. It's like 300 plus skaters. Go there every year, and it's just like Christmas, like celebrating on Go Skateboarding Day because of the vibe and all the positiveness in that. And then we all skate on the streets for about like 3 hours, and then we all meet back at Elliott Skate Park. And those are the top 2 reasons why it'd be great to have the Elliott Skate Park Plaza and other skate parks needed in the Twin Cities area. So people like me in my age group, girls, because girls are starting to come up, and have somewhere to go for skateboarding, BMX, or whatever they're into, to have a space to go that makes them feel welcome and help them improve their skills to be better in their sport.
Thank you, Teddy. Our next speaker is Ryan Yost. Ryan, are you here this evening? Ryan, if you would come forward, state your name, and if you're comfortable, your address for the public record. You have 90 seconds to address the board, and welcome.
Hello, everyone. My name is Ryan Yost, and thank you for having me and all of us. I, too, am here on behalf of funding the Elliott Skate Park. I understand that 2020 youth sports grants are being considered and that Elliott Skate Park is eligible for those grants. And I would just like to express the value of the skate park at Elliott Park. I've been using that park since a young child, and I still go there today. And the children who come there are underserved and love to use the facility. Skateboarding is very popular with the youth today, and it's gaining popularity. Skateboarding will be in the Summer Olympics for the first time in 2020 with the largest TV audience in history, and it will only be gaining popularity. And there are many underserved youth there. The skate park is outdated and small in size, and by funding the skate park to have updates, you would be serving the community there as well as the youth. And so I just wanted to express that here today. Thank you for hearing me.
Thank you, Carl. Our last several speakers have asked about skate parks. Assistant Superintendent Schroeder. Folks have any specific questions tonight, can address them to Assistant Superintendent Schroeder. I think we have a few other folks here to speak on that topic. Our next speaker is Cassandra Holmes. Cassandra, are you here this evening?
There's a group of us. Is it okay if we come up? We're all together on here.
You're welcome. Cassandra, if you could come up and state your name. If you could state your name and if you're comfortable, your address for the record. You have 90 seconds to address the board, and welcome.
We're all like put together, so Jolene Jones will be first. So hello, my name is Jolene Jones. We are here for 2 reasons. We are here for, first, our scout team will be addressing the issue of the park police. Our children came to talk about wanting to be safe in our park. The nearest park to us is Cedar Field. We're also here to ask the park board, for over the last 15 years, Little Earth has been trying to initiate the change of the name of Cedar Field, and we keep running into roadblocks to us, and we're hoping tonight that we can get some answers on what we need to do to change the name of Cedar Field. Do we need to survey the whole community? Do we do it in a park? Do we do all of East Phillips? Do we only do the people who use the park? We need some answers, because our Red Bears, as you can see, some of our children are wearing their uniforms, want to change the name, and we'd like to initiate that in the proper process. Thank you. Okay, my name is Cassandra Holmes. I'm a resident of Little Earth, and I also sit on the EPIC board as the vice president, which is our community organization. I just wanted to say that I was in favor of the name change. It's very personal to me, but the team actually decided to name themselves after my oldest son, who had passed away from a heart condition, but saved the lives of 2 people through donation. He's done a lot of positive things in the community, but he was really positive in our sports teams at Little Earth and with the youth who play. So you can see they used to be called the Little Earth Thunderhawks, and then the youth decided to change their names. So then I'm just, of course, I'm in support of that, but they wanted to change the name of the park to support their team. their sports team. But I'm also here because I'm also the coordinator for SCOUT, which stands for the Safe Community of United Tribes and the Safety Champions of United Tribes. And I'm here in support for the park police and not taking, I'd say, some of them away from us, because we have a really good partnership going with them. And we've actually got pictures here because we do what we call a pop-up meet and greet. And our third precinct and our park police has come out in force in support of this. They come out and they communicate with our residents. They do games. Lieutenant Noble has actually done cotton candy and handed it to our youth. And we're going to be having our third pop-up meet and greet on the 8th, if anybody wants to come and check it out. But here are some pictures from some of our pop-up meet and greets that we have, and I'll pass them around. But I'm just here in support of our park police. Thank you. She also asked to talk. She's actually signed up too. Her name's Camilla Wilson, or she can tell you. Sorry.
Come on up, Camilla.
My name is Camille.
Tell me what you want to say. Go ahead, baby. I got you. Don't be scared. We support you. Go ahead. You asked me to sign up? Go ahead. No? Are you going to say it? Go ahead, just tell me what you want to say real quick.
No more shooting.
She said no more shootings. Anything else? Okay. She supports our park police.
Thank you.
Thank you. So that was Camille, Cassandra, and Jolene. Thank you. There's some more.
I think I have with your group from Little Earth, is there Viviana, Cassandra, or Chantal? Are those?
Cassandra's
My name
There's
is
a
Diana,
two.
and I'm here to support the police. I think it's a good thing they are, in the parks and protect our kids. Our team of regulars always practice on the center field, so I would keep our police park around, and I support the change of the name of the park to regulars.
And say your name for me one more time.
Viviana.
Okay. Thank you.
Camila already spoke.
Hello, I'm Chantal Agenais. I sit on Scout, and I also sit on Epic Board. I'm also a resident of Little Earth, and I support the park police.
My name is Cassandra Corona, and I support the park police, and I also work at the Youth Development Center with our youth. And just taking the police away, our kids would be scared to go outside the park, and we should be able to play at the park, with the police there and whatnot. So I support the Minneapolis Park Police.
Thank you. I think those were all of the speakers that were with Little Earth, and I see you guys sitting back down, so I'm going to assume that that's right. I still have other speakers. The next speaker I have is, yep, did your name not get called? Are you with?
I signed up all the years.
I'm still reading through names. Yep, I'm still reading through names. Marley Anderson, is Marley here this evening? Marlis, if you could come forward, state your name, and if you're comfortable, your address for the public record. You have 90 seconds to address the board, and welcome.
President Bourne, Commissioner Cogill, and Commissioners. I'm Marlis Anderson. I'm a resident of Elliott Park, and I'm here to support the request for increased funding for the Elliott Park Skate Plaza via the Hennepin Youth Sports Grants. The skate park is used by bikers, roller skaters, but mostly skateboarders. It's in constant use, especially in the warm weather. This morning, there was one out there working on the implements at 7:30 this morning. Due to the excellent reputation we have, individuals from all over the Twin Cities and even other states come to use this park. In addition, X Games competitors have also practiced here. Park users include male, female, grade school ages and above, and all races and cultures are representative. It's not limited to one particular group. These people are very passionate about their sport. They are most likely not to choose team sports to participate, but rather individual sports where they can compete against themselves to improve their skills. They are highly motivated, fiercely independent, very creative, risk takers, and thrive on challenges. During a recent survey, one young fellow could not understand why I was checking about improving the park and said, they don't like us, why are you doing this? They see us as troublemakers. They are not troublemakers, they're highly motivated, they watch out for each other, they appreciate the works of others, and respect the others in the environment. The park was established when it was just a beginning sport, and now it's evolved so it's more technical and sophisticated, and the park needs to reflect this. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Marlis. And to the folks that just spoke about Little Earth, I forgot to refer you to somebody. There's you brought up two different issues. On the issue of safety in the parks, I'm going to refer you to Police Chief Ohado, who, if he could raise his hand, he's waving right behind you. And on the Cedar Field name issue, I'm going to refer you to both Commissioner French and Deputy Superintendent Ringgold, who are both sitting up here, but they'll find some time to talk to you guys about next steps on that. And then skate parks, Assistant Superintendent Schroeder. Chesney Enquist. Chesney, if you could come forward, state your name, and if you're comfortable, your address for the public record. You have 90 seconds, and welcome.
Good evening. My name is Chesney Enquist. I live on sacred Dakota land near Minnehaha Falls. Thank you all for your careful attention to this evening's testimonials. Together, we have navigated countless challenging conversations. We weather the conflicts that are required to build trust in community. Together, if we want to, we can remember our true place among the trees, the beavers, cattails, and waterways of this sacred land. Together, we are aware of the health and safety issues, risks of pesticide use, and we've discussed the intersectionality between ecological, social, and racial justice. Regretfully, we have failed to act soon enough. So we gather here today to surround Angie Oma with love, to participate in a difficult conversation around the damages of our land management and cultural practices, and the devastation we are responsible for among the wildlife of Minneapolis parks. It is your fiduciary duty as Park Board Commissioners to protect park funds from the risk of massive punitive damages and lawsuits for knowingly placing groundkeepers, volunteers, and school children in harm's way. Together, it is our moral and biological imperative to protect park stewards and natural inhabitants from immediate and potential harms of exposure to pesticides and bigotry. The time is always right to do what's right. No more pesticides in Minneapolis parks. Thank you.
Thank you, Chesney. My next speaker is Russ Henry. Russ, if you come forward, state your name, and if you're comfortable, your address for the public record. You have 90 seconds to address the board, and welcome.
Commissioner Bourne, thank you very much. Commissioners, my name is Russ Henry, and I'm a Minneapolis resident. I'm here tonight in support of Angie Oma, who is, as she explained, a former staff member who experienced some extreme discrimination and witnessed some horrible pesticide misuse. This picture Angie took of a six-legged frog is one of two pictures we brought up earlier so that you could see some of the environmental devastation that's happening. This picture is of a frog that was taken out of Roberts Bird Sanctuary. Roberts Bird Sanctuary had in the pond there dumped by staff members over time around 50 gallons of herbicide directly into the pond. Instead of cleaning out the bins that they were using, they dumped the leftover remaining materials into the pond. And that caused massive ecological devastation, the complete loss of amphibious life in that pond. There were other situations that Angie detailed about pesticide use in the parks, including exposure of around 300 different volunteers at on two occasions. Pesticide use in our park system is something that is obsolete. We must end the use of pesticides in the parks. Chris, Jono, Brad, AK, Londell, and Kale all said during the campaign that they would help end the use of pesticides in the parks. And I'm calling on all of you who made that pledge to help us do that. In order to get there, we need a more robust committee with committee members on the Pesticide Advisory Committee who have experience in ending pesticide use in ecosystems. That's what we need. We need help. We need that now.
Thank you, Russ. Our next speaker is Joshua Schuneman. Joshua, if you could come forward, state your name, and if you're comfortable, your address for the public record. You have 90 seconds to address the board, and welcome.
Thank you, President Bunn, Vice President Hassan, fellow commissioners. I'm here today in total outrage at the lack of follow-through to the board and being in regard to the elimination of pesticides in the park and to following what's already laid out policy-wise in that regard. I'm here to express my sadness as well for all the extra damage we have seen done to the disregard to park policy and potentially willful violation of the law. Several days ago, I was told at an event that there has been a blatant disregard to the MLB policy on pesticides use and the potential violation of state and federal law. Also, the comments Angie has received in the toxic work culture that was created is really saddening to hear at the park board. I would like to also take this time to thank Angie for standing up and having the courage to do this. Many young park goers were exposed to a high level of dangerous pesticides while enjoying a school field trip to volunteer at the bird sanctuary. And this was against the park's policy of even having the use of pesticides in the specific park. And I'm here for the board to end these actions to end the toxic culture in the workplace and with pesticides. Thank you.
Thank you, Joshua. Our next speaker is Constance Pepin. Constance, if you would come forward, state your name, and if you're comfortable, your address for the public record. You have 90 seconds to address the board, and welcome.
Hi, Constance Pepin. Thank you for letting me be here. I wanted to confirm that all of you are aware of the alarming decline in bird populations in North America. I made copies for you of just one of many articles reporting this tragic news. This is the downward shift. If you were alive in 1970, more than 1 in 4 birds in the United States and Canada has disappeared within your lifetime. And for those of you who were born after 1970, the number of birds in the U.S. has been decreasing during your entire life. It's going down. We're losing birds. Birds and the insects that birds eat are part of a complex ecosystem on which our own survival depends. As stewards of our parklands, you can play a huge role in helping birds and other wildlife. These suggestions are compiled from numerous sources and organizations, including the American Bird Conservancy and the Audubon Society. 1, make all buildings on parkland safe for birds. 2, plant native trees and vegetation. 3, stop using pesticides now. You can't use the DNR as an excuse for using pesticides because the DNR does not require pesticides be used to eliminate noxious or toxic weeds. You have other alternatives. Protect and expand natural areas. Reduce the amount of turf in our park system and plant even more native trees and pollinator habitat. Educate youth as the next generation of environmentalists and stewards. Focus your youth programming efforts on environmental education and careers, consistent with your mission to preserve and protect and enhance our natural resources. Require a wildlife impact assessment for any projects that will potentially affect birds and other wildlife. Prohibit activities on parkland that endanger birds and wildlife, such as fireworks. Please take these simple actions now. We're in an extinction crisis, and we have the data to show, and you need to take action now and stop just talking about it. Thank you.
Thank you, Constance. My next speaker is Lori Ellis. Lori, are you here this evening? Lori, if you could state your name, and if you're comfortable, your address for the public record. You have 90 seconds to address the board, and welcome.
Lori Ellis, 2432 Ovima Place, apartment 313, Minneapolis. I came to speak on the issue of the park name, Red Bear. That's the Indian name for that family's son who passed away. And I want to make sure that this body ensures that the democratic process is as strictly adhered to, because no one inside my family, outside of his family, knew about it until some Facebook postings came up. And the people I did talk to about it were, well, what did he do for the community? I mean, I was the chairman there for 20 years. When Little Earth went over Indian preference, I was the chairman there. And that the federal government gave us permission to do that. Now, this is a whole different body here. I mean, I have a long record with Little Earth, but I want to make sure that this body ensures that this family strictly adheres to the democratic process and allows the entire community to be represented in this, because many, many people have died that have lived at Little Earth before Trinidad, and many people have died since. And I don't believe that the family or that the community feels it's fair to highlight one individual person by naming a park after them, because that's the big question. What did he do for the community? And I don't know if they adhere to the democratic process. I'm sure it could happen, but so far the people in the community I've spoken to are all of the same mind. Why is there grief? Why is it taking precedent over other grief inside the community? I mean, people are dying there all the time. All the ODs, things like that. People don't, it just isn't right.
Thank you, Ms. Ellis. I'm going to refer you, you might have missed this part of the meeting. We don't debate from the dais here, but I will refer you to Deputy Superintendent Ringgold. She's our staff person that probably the foremost expert on our naming policy. So I'm going to refer you to Deputy Superintendent Ringgold. Thank you for your testimony.
The community needs to participate in this process.
Thank you, Ms.
So far,
Ellis.
they haven't been able.
Our next speaker is Mark Rivard. Mark, are you here this evening? Mark, if you could come forward, state your name, and if you're comfortable, your address for the public record. You have 90 seconds to address the board, and welcome.
How's it going? I'm Mark Rivard. I am in northeast Minneapolis. I am here on behalf of City of Skate and the skateboarders of Minneapolis. I want to give you a little context. For one, I'm here primarily to say that this Hennepin County Youth Sports Grant, let's put some money into it and make it earmarked towards skate parks. It's time. We've been standing here for 10 years. In 2009, Jennifer Ringgold formed a small committee, I guess you'd call it. That was 2009. I was part of that committee. I'm one of the founding members of City of Skate. It's been 10 years and not a single dollar has been spent on skate parks by this group. In 2012, we did a survey through the Minneapolis Park and Rec Board, had over 1,400 responses. That created what is now called the Skate Park Master Plan that was started in 2005. It was completed 5 years later. It took 5 years to make that plan. That now is 2 years old, still nothing. It's astronomically pathetic how bad that is. 10 years. The community has asked for skate parks. The community has been involved in skateboarding. We host the world's largest skateboard contest in our backyard, and we have nothing to show for it. In Minneapolis, I personally work with Minneapolis Public School District, Hennepin County Libraries, Meet Minneapolis, Sports Minneapolis, the YMCA, numerous nonprofits, the X Games, all partners of myself and City of Skate. No skate parks. 10 years is ridiculous. It's time. Start funding skate parks.
Thank you, Mark. Our next speaker is Paul Forsline.
President Board, I think you missed something on the list. There's confusion with my name. There's a Carl Forsline. That's it. In the top.
I thought that I called
I
him.
corrected it when I signed you in. Carl's right behind me. He's ready to speak.
Okay, come on up if I miss you there. So Carl, if you could state your name and if you're comfortable, your address for the public record. You have 90 seconds to address the board, and welcome.
Hey there, I'm Carl Forsline. I live in Minneapolis. I am here to speak on kind of echoing what Mark was talking about. I actually stood here as an 8-year-old 14 years ago, asking for planning and funding with skate parks, and have been part of this process through those 14 years. So I wanted to speak a little bit on just how important skateboarding is for larger Minneapolis, but also specifically youth, and how Elliott Skate Park would be an excellent venue for beginning that chapter. Let's see. So I think the thing I really want to echo is skateboarding is funded in most progressive city planning all around the world. We see that it has really a lasting and unprecedented effect on everything from really healthy social spaces, increasing safety, and specifically intergenerational growth. And I have lived that experience, becoming now more of an older person at the skate park in the sense of not being able to do it as often without skate parks. So I see tons of enthusiasm, and yeah, things are good.
Thank you. So, Paula, are you also signed up to speak? Okay, thank you.
Carl called in, I think there was some.
Oh, well, my apologies for the confusion.
Thanks so much.
Yep, thank you, Carl. Paul, if you would state your name and if you're comfortable, your address for the public record.
I'm Paul Forsling, 4639 Humboldt Avenue South. I'm also part of City of Skate, as you all know. Thanks for this opportunity, President Board, Vice President Hassan, Commissioners, Superintendent Vigor. Yeah, Hennepin County Youth Sports Grants, this is a little history in those. Those are 11 years old. Skate parks have always been a eligible funding source in there. The first park that was actually awarded was 7 years into it, and that was St. Louis Park. The second, thank you to the staff, planning staff here, 2 years ago, they went forward with the Central Skate Park. So just in the scope of the Hennepin County Youth Grants, skate parks have been overlooked. So I think that's an opportunity here for our park system to seize that moment, because there's probably not going to be a skate park on the list this year again anywhere else in Hennepin County. So there's that. But I want to give you a background. Elliott Park is fully designed. The plans are at the city. X Games has given us donation for the full design. It's half funded at the moment. It needs 50% more funding to make this happen. We're going into the Olympic year 2020. X Games would like to publicize this park. You as a board have not put skate parks in the CIP. It's not in the near future, it hasn't been. We're just looking for you to prioritize this. This is an activity that should be on an equal basis of any other activity you're funding, whether that be field sports, you name it, playgrounds, whatever. These are social spaces that are very important to our community, and it's time for us to move forward with this. So that's all I have. Moving forward, by the way, I invite all of you. We likely have something to show you, which would be the juxtaposition skate spot in North Minneapolis. We've built that to bring immediate skateboarding opportunities to the kids in North Minneapolis. And I welcome you all to come October 15th. I believe Carrie from Planning is organizing some things. We'd like you to come see it, see what a custom skate park looks like, see who's using this park, how it's used. It's really an experiment to how we're going to implement skate parks in this whole system. So thanks for your time.
Thank you, Paul. The last speaker I have signed up is Whit Ciasco. Whit, are you here this evening? Whit, if you would state your name and if you're comfortable, your address for the public record. You have 90 seconds to address the board, and welcome.
Hello, everyone. I'm Whit Ciasco. I live at 2414 Buchanan Street Northeast. Much like many of the skateboarders that are here, I'm here to speak on behalf of the Elliott Park funding and prioritizing Hennepin County Youth Sports Grant as a potential application. I'm just going to speak from the heart. I'm a parent of 2 children that skateboard. We're not, skateboarding culture is one that will definitely survive, because we do it on our own. And I've created a quarter pipe in my backyard, but the big thing is introducing new kids to the sport. And it's a massively growing sport. If you don't know, it's going to be in the Olympics. City of Skate, an organization that I helped found with Paul Forsling and Mark Rivard, through you all bringing us together, we've created the Juxtaposition Skate Plaza, and I want to invite you, before I leave, to come. Through Carrie Christensen, we're inviting all of you all to come to Juxt and just see what it's all about. You may have your perceptions about what skateboarding is, but it is a true equity sport. It's low cost to get involved. If there's no mediation needed, there are people that are there to support. We go and help kids learn about skateboarding, but it's also one that doesn't require a coach or full organization. I think that Elliott Park is a real missed opportunity if you don't help prioritize it. X Games will be here, and it's the most popular park for skateboarders, and it is a true mix of age, race, and ethnicity down there at that park. So please come and check it out, either through juxtaposition or go down to Elliott Park any afternoon. We'd love to have you, and I hope you support us in this grant application. Thanks.
Thank you, Whit. Was there anybody that signed up for open time whose name I didn't read? It sounded like there was a hiccup on the list. So there's nobody else that was signed up. Perfect. We'll close open time. We'll go back to the park survey. Mr. Leatherman.
It's a pleasure to be back with you.
Welcome back.
Continuing with the survey, we asked residents had they about their use of a recreation center in the city of Minneapolis. This time, 31% indicated they or a member of their household had used a recreation center. That's actually up 4 points. It's not statistically significant, but it was 27% in 2015. Then we asked a few other questions. Is it? Oh, is it? It's come.
Thank you.
There. Is that better?
Yeah.
Yeah. Excellent. Of the 31% that indicated they had used a recreation center, we followed up and asked their feeling, the overall quality of the center. 89% favorable to 11% unfavorable. Outstanding endorsement with 42% rating the recreation center as excellent. Continuing with the users, now this is the 31%. We followed up and asked, had they or members of their household used an inside program? 53% indicated that they had. That's an increase statistically significant from 45% in 2015. So 8% more people indicated that they or members of the household were using an inside program. The quality of the inside program, extraordinary. 98-2, with a flat majority, 53%, rating the quality as excellent. Outside programs remain stable. It was 53% in 2015. It's 53% again this time. 93% favorable to 6% only fair or poor. Both all three, the overall recreation center experience, the individual programs, whether inside or outside, you've seen growth in use and you've seen growth in ratings. Now, do the recreation centers meet the needs of their household? Now, this is asked of all residents, not just users. Keep in mind that 69% don't use them. You still had 82% that indicated yes, they were. Even if they were non-users, their needs were being met. What about the frequency of use of neighborhood parks and regional trails? And we asked this on a 7-point scale, going from daily to never, they could tell us. A neighborhood park was used by a typical resident at least on a weekly basis. 1 in 8 residents indicated they were going there daily, 7% indicated never. So 93% of residents indicated they were using neighborhood parks. Regional parks, not surprisingly, less used than neighborhood parks, with the average coming in a little bit more than every month. Maybe 5 to 6 weeks. You had 8% indicating they were at least using on a weekly basis. 21% indicated that they never used a regional park. An overall evaluation then of the existing facilities meeting the needs of their household, 96% indicated that they do meet the needs of their household, 3% said no, and 1% were unsure. This is actually up 1 point. It was 95% in 2015. So the existing facilities that are currently in place do meet the needs of Minneapolis residents. How are they getting to the Minneapolis parks? This was a new question we asked, and we went through the list individually, and so it wasn't just choose one. They could tell us multiple styles. 74%, 3/4 indicated that they walked to a park. 58% indicated that they took a car or a truck. 51% bicycled. 1 in 7 use public transportation, and then rideshare, school district bus, and metro mobility were single digits. We followed up with those that said they only used an automobile. I had found out what was the primary reason for only using an automobile to get to the Minneapolis parks. 3 key reasons: the perceived need of the car, the distance to the park, and then age and illness issues is what was mentioned as the primary reasons for using only a car to get to the Minneapolis parks. But 3/4 of residents indicated that they were getting to the parks via walking. Now, we went through a series of factors and asked the limit, how much of a limit the use of programs and facilities these factors are. They could say a lot, some, not too much, or not at all. What's arrayed on the chart is the a lot and some. So we can have an immediate, the overall impact and reach. Really, nothing hits a lot. 14% is the highest amount saying a lot. So none of the factors we would classify as, an urgent. There are opportunities, especially in the top 4. If we look at those with the double digits in the a lot category. On the personal safety, 14% indicated a lot. 40% total indicated that it does limit use. That is an increase from 2015. It was 22% in 2015. So it is almost double. The inconvenient program times, it's 27% this time. It's down from 32% in 2015. What about lack of information? This time, 42%. 26% in 2015. So on both personal safety and lack of information, there is statistically significant increases on that. But also then on the inconvenient hours of operation, 25% this time, that was 33%. So on the inconvenience of hours and of hours of operation and program times, there has been a decrease in the amount of people saying it limits their use. On the personal safety and lack of information, there has been an increase. We went through a series of services provided by the Park District. And we asked folks, are these services very important, somewhat important, not too important, or not at all important? Now, off the start, everything's important. The green, I separated out the very and the somewhat important to give you a sense of hierarchy in the importance. But keep in mind, the lowest level of importance rated was 78% to adult non-sports programs. More than 3/4 of the community still said it was at least somewhat important. If we look at the very important and set that hierarchy, you can see 4 cluster at the top: youth sports, community events, youth non-sports, and after-school programs. Then followed by about 50% indicating very important, police protection, programs for people with disabilities, and multi- and intergenerational programming. And then about 40% programs for adults over the age of 65, adult sports, and adult non-sports. So it's only meant to give you a sense of prioritization, keeping in mind that at least 3/4 of residents think all of these services are important. What's an overall evaluation then? The satisfaction with the current programs and activities? Outstanding, 95% rated satisfaction, with 60% saying very satisfied. On something like this, when you're combining programs and activities, it's pretty much a constant in Minnesota. You can find 10% unhappy about something that they want improved. On the overall satisfaction, though, we only had 2% that registered somewhat dissatisfied. Nobody said very dissatisfied. We asked a set of revenue-generating proposals and compared them to 2015. Across the board, there's still support, strong support for all of them, the lowest being 64 to 32. But especially at the bottom, there has been some decreases, especially on the fees for youth recreation based on the ability to pay. That dropped 9 points. It's still 2/3 of residents supporting that, and increasing all adult recreation fees at 64, dropping 10 points. What leads the list is is the increase in corporate sponsorships, additional concessions, partnering with private organizations, and allowing the purchase of naming rights. All of these are strongly supported by the community as a whole. A new question started in with a paragraph about the Park District offering higher end amenities, and then asking folks would they be willing to pay a higher fee for use of a higher end amenity. And on this one, you have 53% support to 38% opposition, and 8% want to know exactly how much it's going to cost and what it's going to be. They wanted more details before they hedged their bet. So at the outset, support is tepid, but support is there. If you on a policy issue, we always indicate to clients to look at the intensity of the position. Strong yes was 21%, while strong no was 15%. So it does warrant discussion in the future on this potential of offering higher end amenities for higher fees. We looked at the Minneapolis Park and Recreation Board's mission statement and broke it into 5 parts, and then asked once again the importance first, and then we come back and ask it again the rating on how they say that the Park and Recreation Board is doing. Once again, like going through the services, all of them are important, and for the sake of trying to get this all on the chart, the letters indicate that PPMIE is permanently protect, preserve, maintain, improve, and enhance parkland. 67% said very important, somewhat important, 27%, combined importance at 94%. You can see the lowest is the protection, maintenance, enhancement of recreation opportunities. Still 60% very important, 90%, 92% at least somewhat important. So all of them are important. When following up then and asking the same statements and saying how would you rate the Minneapolis Park and Recreation Board on achieving that statement, it's an outstanding rating across the board. 3/4 up to 83% rate the Park Board favorably, only about 15% in each category unfavorably. So when we pair this up, and oftentimes clients will have us do this, if you have something that's deemed not as important and has lower ratings, then it's not as much of a concern. If you have something that's very important that has low ratings, it's an urgency. Basically what this is telling us is everything's important and you're doing a very good job. There's no, shall we say, low-hanging fruit that really needs to be fixed. Going back all the way to one of the first slides on what folks like least about the Minneapolis Park and Recreation opportunities. More financial investment from the Minneapolis Park and Recreation Board. Your folks, yes, everything. Would they support or oppose more financial investment for programs for elementary school children? 97-3. Middle school children, 97-3. Everything for children is 90% or higher. 83% for child care programs. Programs for adults over 55 and young adults, 77 and 78% support. Job training, technology programs, healthcare programs, all have strong levels of support. So once again, it's the tension that elected officials face. All of these are a priority for folks. There is support for expanded financial investment in all the programs that we tested. What about a couple questions on taxes? What's their perception of property taxes that go to the Minneapolis Park and Recreation Board? Well, first off, 36% were unsure. Keep in mind 51% are renters. Typically that's much more based when we ask this perception question on the number of renters and the ability to answer the question. The typical resident comes in at roughly 5 to 6%. So, and I believe, and then we tell them the information that it's 7% as a whole. So the estimate is about right, but you do have a high level, over a third, that are unsure of the percent of property taxes going to the Minneapolis Park and Recreation Board. What about a tax increase to maintain services and programs? In 2015, 76% supported. to 11% opposition. This time, 69% support to 8% opposition. You can see you still have strong support for a property tax increase to maintain services and programs. Where people hedged their bets on this one was moving into uncertainty. Moving from 12 to 22%, a 10-point increase. And once again, they wanted to know how much the property tax would be and specifically which services would need it before they give more information. People are becoming more judicial across the state on property taxes. There's growing concern. And so a question like this oftentimes elicits much more uncertainty with people wanting specifics than it has in the past 5 years. What about a tax increase to enhance services and programs? There has been quite a change. There's now a working plurality in favor of one in the city. In 2015, 24% supported, 60% opposed. Now, 41% support, 32% opposed. But still, you have 27% that want to know how much and which programs are going to be enhanced. So on both of these, with growing uncertainty, looking for more specifics, it'll be dependent on the type of program or services, either seeking maintenance or enhancement. But especially on enhancement, there is growing sentiment now, more willingness to have a discussion on enhancement than we've seen in the past. Then an overall evaluation where the rubber hits the road, and we ask them when they consider the property taxes they pay and the services provided by the Minneapolis Park and Recreation Board, how do they rate that value? 78% rated positively, 10% rated unfavorably. Outstanding rating, you actually have 18% rating it excellent. Very few public entities, either city, school districts, park boards, in this survey, when you're looking at property taxes and putting that into the equation, have double digits rating anything excellent. It really is a strong endorsement. The Minneapolis parks have and continue to be kind of the jewel of the crown in the city of Minneapolis. And then the last question on information sources. How do folks prefer to receive information? 35% indicated publications and newsletters. Then we dropped to 14% for the website or social media, and 12% want to be there, visit in person. What we typically look at here is we're looking for a split between print and electronic, that preference, the tension every public organization has is how best to communicate with residents. And we see the typical split that we see across the state. There's still a bit more preference for print versus electronic. When we put publications, newsletters, and newspapers together, we have 41% of residents indicating that's their preference. If we put the electronics, the website, social media, email subscriptions together, it's approximately 34% indicating that is their preference. So moving forward, the Park District will have to continue to do both, just like every public organization. People aren't ready for the entire switchover on electronic, and part of it is because the reliance on electronic means of communication relies on the user to be proactive to seek out that information. I'd be happy to answer any questions you have.
Thank you, Mr. Leatherman. This is a pretty informative survey. Do commissioners have any questions or comments? I see Commissioner Forney followed by Musich.
Thank you. Excellent. Really, really appreciate all this insight. One thing that was interesting to me is that you indicated that neighborhood versus regional. In your inquiry, did you sense or did you describe what the differences were between a neighborhood park and a regional park?
No, we did not.
Okay, so therefore, some regional might have been interpreted as those outside of the city of Minneapolis.
Oh, no, within the city of Minneapolis.
Okay.
Not regional outside of Minneapolis,
Right.
Within Minneapolis.
But I guess the clarity is do people understand that a regional park inside of Minneapolis, I guess to me, that's a mushy place, and I wondered if there was some clarity that was given to that?
In the pre-testing, the focus basically, people were focused on size in talking about it. The size of the park and the amount of amenities offered. A neighborhood park being smaller, the regional park, they were thinking around the lakes Theodore Wirth, those areas as larger, Hiawatha as larger regional parks.
Okay, so the validation came more from them of understanding.
In the pre-testing to see if there was confusion on the difference.
Okay, good.
Yes,
Yeah,
yep.
and I just,
Yeah.
there's easy confusion for a lot of people. That,
Yeah.
Okay, thank you. And then I really appreciated about wanting more specifics as far as taxing. Any more textual stuff you can tell us about that? I mean, that we need to promote our need better, that there wasn't clarity maybe what our taxing might be for. Did you get any of that sense, any of that depth to it?
I think I understand your question. Let me try to start answering. You stop me if I'm misinterpreting your question. In lining up what people support the financial investment in being so highly supported, and the discussion on a property tax increase to maintain or enhance city service or to the services provided by the park district, there oftentimes is a disconnect. Folks, we do a lot of work with school districts on operating levies and bond referendums, and support for property tax increase does not come into clear focus until people understand the purpose that it's going to be used for. In looking at that list that we tested on additional financial investment from the Park and Recreation Board, I'd be fairly confident in saying there would be more support if it was specified what the property tax increase would be used for, if it's one of those 10 services or programs tested, and tying it and putting it out there to the community. Did that answer the question?
That did, beautifully. I really appreciate that.
You're welcome.
And thank you for all these efforts. And the last one, and I love that you made the parallel of differences between 4 years, or has it been 5 years?
4, almost 5. Thank you.
Thank you, Commissioner Forney. Commissioner Kogel.
Thank you, President Bourne. Thank you for the presentation. I had 2 questions. The first being regarding comparisons from 2015 to 2019 on some of these items that don't have comparisons. Is that data available? Have you created those charts for?
I spoke to, on some of them, I put the data on there, and some it became too busy with the chart, like the 2015 is.
But it's possible to get that comparison.
Yeah, absolutely. And in the analysis, when we go into it, we'll be making, pointing to differences between 15, 19, and actually we can go back into the aughts, because we did the surveys back then. Not all the questions, though, some were new.
Right.
Yep.
Right. Okay. And then following up to that same question, so some of the differences are within the margin of error, which I guess would be interesting to note if there is additional analysis or whatever the final product is, just where the differences are that are outside of that margin of error, if that makes sense. So for example, your overall impression of the Park and Recreation Board, excellent and good, there's differences between 2015 and 2019, both of them are within the margin of error.
Yep.
But then there are some other differences that are larger and actually are starkly changed from 4 years ago.
Absolutely. Between, for historic sake, between 15 and 19, but also in the report, what we'll do, we'll run the crosstabs. So all those demographics you saw up front, and then including the balloon sample, and we'll be looking at statistically significant differences between commissioner districts, between homeowners versus renters, everything like that will be in the report.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Thank you, Commissioner Kogel. Commissioner Musich.
Thank you, President Bourne. So I'm interested in seeing the report that you're putting together on the analysis of the data. I appreciate that you've given us all of the data here in this packet that got handed out to us. I had been looking for that on our agenda, so I'm excited to see that we're going to get that raw data. When do you anticipate that we'll have the analytical report available for our reading pleasure?
The overall analytical report will probably be ready towards the end of this month.
Okay. And would you be providing that to the superintendent or the deputy superintendent, or who would we want to be following up with
Yeah.
to get a copy of that?
Yes. Yeah.
Okay.
Yep.
Lovely.
And there'll be a big book of crosstabs too.
Yay, thank you.
Council Rice, we have a 6:30 time certain.
I can do this in 60 seconds.
Okay.
Mr. Leatherman, Ronald Reagan asked the question in 1980, we got it now than 4 years ago. So looking at slide 30, which is the one back from where you're at on that. Compared to 2015, which was Commissioner Cogill's question, do you know what those numbers were?
I do. Fantastic. That is the first question I've ever received like that. That's fantastic. In 2015, it was 86% favorable to 10% unfavorable. So once again, the growth isn't the uncertainty, not the unfavorable. Keeping in mind now we have a higher percentage of people uncertain about the property taxes coming to the district. It's really kind of the guiding factor.
Could you repeat those numbers again?
86 to 10.
86 to 10.
Yep.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome.
Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Leatherman. I do have a request before we recess for a time certain. It's my understanding that nobody is, thank you, Mr. Leatherman.
Okay.
It's my understanding that there's nobody signed up for our public hearing at 6:30, so we're going to, my request would be that we open up the public hearing, close the public hearing if there is nobody signed up for it. Recess that because we do have Commissioner Conley here waiting to speak to an item in the Admin and Finance Committee, and that out of respect for her time, we would move into that. So I am recessing the full board to go to Planning, Chair Forney.
I'd like to convene the planning committee here at 6:30. I think that's what it is. Would the secretary please call the roll?
Commissioner Meyer.
Present.
Vice Chair Cogill.
Present.
Chair Forney.
Here.
You have a quorum.
Thank you. I'll take a motion to approve the agenda.
So moved.
Okay, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Abstentions? So moved. And we have two sets of minutes. I'm very grateful for both of those. So I'll take a motion to approve the minutes of Wednesday, March 6, 2019.
I'll move to approve the minutes of Wednesday, March 6, 2019, and the minutes of September 4th, 2019.
Thank you. All those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Abstentions? Okay. So we do have a public hearing. I will open it up for anybody who wishes to. If there was not, and this, excuse me, I apologize, about the concept approval of the Holmes Park playground improvements public hearing. I do not have anybody signed up, but if there is somebody who failed to and would like to speak to it, please indicate so. Hearing once, hearing twice. With that, I will then close the public hearing and ask for
Move to recess.
move to recess. Thank you very much. All those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Abstentions? We are recessed.
I will, at the time being 6:34, I'll call the Administration and Finance Committee to order. If the Secretary would please call the roll.
Commissioner French.
Here.
Vice President Hassan. Here. Vice Chair, Acting Chair Cogill.
Here.
You have a quorum.
Thank you. I'd entertain a motion to approve the agenda with two amendments. First, to move item 4.3 to the top of the action items, and then to remove the study report item.
So moved.
It's been moved. All those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Abstentions? So moved. I'd entertain a motion to approve the minutes of Wednesday, the 4th of September, 2019.
So moved.
All those in favor of approving the minutes, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, abstentions, all right. Okay, so we have a variety of action items, and the first being item 4.3, Resolution 2019-341. If somebody could read that.
I'd like to read Resolution 219-341, resolution authorizing the creation of parkland dedication and operating agreement with Hennepin County Housing and Redevelopment Authority and the City of Minneapolis for a donation of Market Square to satisfy the parkland dedication requirement for Lake and Hiawatha located at the southwest quadrant of Lake Street and Hiawatha Avenue, and releasing of Hennepin County Housing and Redevelopment Authority all parkland dedication fees paid and related to Phase 1 of Lake and Hiawatha.
The resolution has been moved. I believe we have a presentation, and I don't know if Assistant Superintendent Schroeder, you want to speak first, or?
Acting Chair Cogill, actually, given how long we've asked Commissioner Conley to speak, I would like to have her come up, if that's all right.
Wonderful.
I will be very brief.
Welcome, Commissioner Conley. Thank you so much for coming.
Thank you, Mr. Chair and Commissioners. It is my pleasure to be here. I'm Angela Conley, Hennepin County Commissioner for the 4th District, which, as some of you may know, is the one Commissioner District that encompasses just the City of Minneapolis. So it's a pleasure to work with all of you, and I want to express my support on this resolution. This is something that I started working on very early in my first term here. Really want to give a thank you to the county and park board staff who've been working really, really hard to bring this resolution to fruition, to go out and look at the green space, and just want to say thank you for the partnership, because I do believe that we should be working in partnership on many different fronts. So I appreciate that. I think that this project is certainly an asset to the community. It's something that our community members, the folks that we're serving in the Lake and Hiawatha area, are people who really are supportive of the green space and the Market Square, and wanted to see that it stayed public. It was a very, it was a year, like several years in the making, for folks really getting their voices to the decision-making table in terms of what the space would look like, how it would give back to community, and based on what community wanted. So keeping this land public and not private is really, really important. So we're talking about one of the largest farmers markets on the south side of Minneapolis. It's also a small business incubator for folks to come and sell their goods and their wares. So it really is an opportunity to bring so many community members together, and to remain in partnership and in continued partnership this way is really important for me, and is definitely aligning with my values as a commissioner, and certainly several of you. So I'm hoping that you vote in support of this resolution today, and that we can continue to partner for as long as we can. So thank you for your time, and I appreciate moving the agenda around a little bit.
Thank you very much, Commissioner Conley. Assistant Superintendent Schroeder, take it away.
I will move through this fairly directly, because this was an action that you looked at before in December of last year. It's a slightly modified version. At that time, we were looking at this being what we call a private land for maintained for public use, park dedication, and it's changed significantly since then. I'm going to skip the dedication options and move right to the project description. If you recall, this is a project that includes several different components: 100,000 square feet of commercial space, 560 units of market rate and affordable housing, a parking structure, and then the subject of this particular action is the 50,000 square foot public plaza. So this is the location on the southwest quadrant of Lake Street and Hiawatha Avenue. You can see this is the former building that was there. This is just east of the YMCA and west of the LRT stop at Hiawatha. This is the first phase of development with the commercial space that fronts on Lake Street, and then the housing project. And then as you look to what happens in the long term, there's 2 more housing components that get added. And then this is the Market Square, or Market Plaza, it's shown in this drawing. This is the design. Have been a few changes to this. Staff has been working with county staff and their consultants and making a few refinements. But the dedication, there's actually two parts to this now. There's the dedication agreement where instead of this being private land maintained for public use, it will be a donation of a completed Market Square project. And with this, we would release the funds that Hennepin County and its co-developers have paid. It's about $190,000 have paid for the first phase of development. The plaza would be developed. I note here that one of the thresholds that we look at when we're looking at receiving land is it in excess of what we would otherwise receive in parkland dedication fees. And when we look at the cost of the land and the improvements the park board will receive, the value of this is about $2.7 million, and it significantly exceeds the cash value that we would estimate the parkland dedication amount would be at $875,000. So that would constitute the parkland dedication agreement. Essentially, the donation of Market Square would satisfy fully all the requirements of the Lake and Hiawatha Development Project. In addition, we would enter into an operating agreement where the Hennepin County HRA will reimburse the MPRB for the cost of maintaining Market Square, and they would also reimburse us for the cost of providing security for Market Square. We haven't gone yet through the details of this, but this, what you're being asked to look at tonight and what the board will consider if this is reviewed favorably tonight is the creation of these two documents. The reimbursement of these funds will come from essentially an assessment to the tenants, the residential and commercial tenants of the Market Square project. We've talked about this before. This aligns with the park board's goals. We do need a park in this area. It's identified in the 2007-2020 comprehensive plan. It also directly meets the requirements of the Southwest Service Area Plan, which re-emphasized those goals and actually focused on a need for a park along the Hiawatha corridor or Lake Street, and this happens to fall exactly at the intersection of the two. The parkland dedication fees, as I mentioned, that have been paid so far, $190,171.90, would be released to Hennepin County, and those funds would be directed then to the creation of Market Square. And I will stop there to see if there are any questions. My colleague from the Hennepin County, Michael Noonan, is also here if we have questions of the county.
Oh, sorry.
That was an amazing presentation, I know.
Thank you. I'm wowed. Commissioner Forney, looks like you have a question.
Thank you, Chair Colville. I'm not on this committee, so thank you for letting me speak. I'm so excited. This is wonderful. I happen to be a regular user. Excuse me for being nitsy-pitsy, but it's the YWCA. It's not the YMCA.
My apologies.
Anyway, and also was a frequent user of the farmers market that was there and everything. So this is just an amazing. And then I'll put on my real estate hat. In essence, we're like paying $190,000 for a $2.7 million, project. I mean, thank you. I wish Angela was here so we could, personally thank her too. But this is so wonderful. And then I also have to say that I believe that Commissioner Young is smiling on this. She lived right across the street from this, and really will be very excited that this is being permanently ours, and I really appreciate it. Thank you.
Thank you, Commissioner Forney. Are there any other comments or questions? Seeing none, thank you for the presentation. Greatly appreciated. All those in favor of Resolution 2019-341, please signify by saying aye.
Aye. She's so happy, I'm sure.
Opposed? Okay. No abstentions. The resolution carries. I'll entertain a motion on item 4.1. It's a resolution approving an amendment number 2.
Which one?
Item 4.1, 2019-339. approving amendment number 2 to the Active Network LLC contract related to language translation services. If I could get a motion on that?
So moved.
Are there any questions for staff on this amendment? Commissioner French? Do we have Director Olson?
I guess we had some bugs in the last AccuNet system. Did we work some of those bugs out to make sure that the system was more streamlined? And did we ever figure out a way to make that system work with whatever MPS has? I know that's from some of the things that we were talking about.
Good evening, Commissioners. Commissioner French, I'm not sure exactly which bugs you're referring to. There have been some bugs with ActiveNet. We continue to work with the vendor, with their support team to work those bugs out. We've continued to try to optimize the system. Currently, we're working with a technical support rep to identify areas where we can further optimize the system. At this time, we have not found a way, though, to collate Minneapolis Public Schools registration system with ActiveNet or with the Minneapolis Park Boards. But it's not about the technical pieces, really. It's more about policy and procedure and data sharing and things of that nature. Does that answer your question?
Yeah, I knew that much. So I guess the other question I would have is the AccuNet system. Are we still charging kids for that? Are we still making sure kids have to pay for a card or whatever?
Commissioner French, we don't charge upfront for an active pass, and we do not require that the youth actually display a new active pass if they lose one. So there isn't an additional charge to replace that active pass. We can look them up by name or by their customer account number and verify that they are who they are, because we have all of the information that would be on the active pass on the screen in front of staff.
All right. Does Active Pass have any competitors as far as somebody else that does this that might have had a better price or anything like that? Are they the only one in the game?
For the software as a whole, Commissioner French?
Yeah, something similar to this.
There are a number of competitors who have continued to develop software that provides similar functionality to recreation systems across the country. Currently, we're in a contract with ActiveNet that was a result of a request for proposals process. We will conclude our contract over the next 12 to 14 months, or next year or two, and at that time we will go out for RFP again to seek a vendor that will best meet our needs.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome.
Thank you, Commissioner French. Commissioner Musich.
Thank you, Chair Kogel. I'm not on this committee, so I appreciate being given the opportunity to speak. When we last spoke about ActiveNet, we had a number of enhancement requests that were pending with the vendor. Have those been delivered at this point?
Commissioner Musich, we have had so many that have been resolved. Right now, the one that was hanging out there was the language translation enhancement request, which is why we're here this evening. Staff and leadership met with ActiveNet, and we've come to an agreement on development requirements to get us there.
Okay.
So that is the one that's hanging out there right now. Of course, we continue to put in enhancement requests as we find ways that we hope we can use the system. But right now, we have a very, very short list of unresolved requests. We just put in one the other day for something that was more functional that we feel that will be resolved. And we have a really great working relationship with both our technical rep and our account rep, who have helped us to best navigate their systems so we can work together to get things done for our customers.
Okay, wonderful. Well, I'm glad to hear that this is the one that's hanging out there that we're finally going to get to a resolution on. I know it was very frustrating as part of the negotiation process that it wasn't even given a timeline, so I'm glad that we're proceeding in a way that gets us what we need. Thank you.
As am I.
Thank you, Commissioner Musich. Are there any other questions from commissioners? Seeing none, thank you, Director Olson, very much. All those in favor of Resolution 2019-339, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, abstentions, resolution has been moved, or has passed. I'll entertain a motion on Resolution 2019-340.
Resolution approving lease agreement with Take Action Minnesota Education Fund leasing commercial space at 1828 Marshall Street, Northeast Suite, number 14A, located within the Above the Falls Regional Park for the term of 3 years, effective November 1st, 2019.
The resolution has been moved. Are there any questions from commissioners regarding this resolution? Commissioner Meyer, looks like, do we have Ms. Downey here?
I don't.
To answer questions?
I don't have a question.
No questions, okay. Just a comment?
Yep, I just
All right.
wanted to celebrate this, welcoming Take Action to District 1, and also just wanted to applaud staff for working with this difficult property and finding ways to get around the parking concerns. I know it's a place that doesn't have a lot of parking, but we were able to work that out and find a tenant that was able to make use of it at the right time of day that it was available. So I just wanted to thank them for that.
Thank you, Commissioner Meyer. Are there any other questions from commissioners? Seeing none, oh, yes, Commissioner French.
I'm a member of Take Action Minnesota, so I'm gonna recuse myself from this vote.
Okay. All right. Okay, so in that case, I suppose I need to appoint somebody else to the committee. Is that correct?
Do you still have quorum? No, you don't.
No.
You're fine.
I'm fine. With
He only
two
has
people?
2 people.
He doesn't
I
have a
have
quorum.
2 people on my
committee members.
committee.
You're missing Severson and Vita on the committee. You only
On a
have 3
recusal, that shouldn't matter. The quorum is only meant, somebody doesn't vote. I don't think that's, I'll defer to our parliamentarian, but.
Well, I guess you have a quorum with 3, and you only have 2 votes. I guess you can vote.
Is it at the
Yeah,
discretion of
you
the
have a
chair to
quorum of the
appoint somebody
committee.
else?
Pardon?
Is it at the discretion of the chair to?
Well, this is gonna be a lease, so when it comes to the board, it's gonna need 6 votes. But it's not coming to the board tonight. You can pass it out of committee with vote. Let's see. You've got a quorum because you have 3 and
If
one
there's no
abstain.
objection from Commissioner Meyer, I would appoint myself to the committee for the duration of the evening. If there's no objection from Commissioner Meyer, I would appoint myself to the committee for the evening. All right, I am appointing myself to the Admin and Finance Committee.
Okay, thank you. President Bourne, all those in favor of Resolution 2019-340, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, abstentions, so moved, and let the record show that Commissioner French recused himself. And we have one more resolution. I would entertain a motion on Resolution 2019-342.
So moved.
All right, this is a resolution approving a professional services agreement with Trans Park Incorporated for parking meter services in an amount not to exceed $300,000 through October 2022. Are there any questions from commissioners regarding this resolution? Commissioner French?
Do you have any questions?
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Commissioner French?
Yeah, what's the park board's cut of this deal? What do we, for the 200, so what's the percentage that the park board would receive from parking meters?
Commissioner French, the park board receives 100% of our parking meter revenue. This action is considering a professional services agreement with Transpark Incorporated, a local small business from the TNP list for City of Minneapolis, who provides parking meter maintenance services and also provides cash and coin collection through a certified process, a skill set that is outside of the scope of park board staff that we have on hand. So we have partnered with outside vendors to provide this specific service since we began using the electronic kiosk meters for meter collection.
Have you estimated what the cost would be if the park board tried to do this in-house?
Commissioner French, I have not estimated that. The skill set of this particular vendor and vendors in this field is very refined to this specific niche in the parking industry. So staff have determined that it best be met by professionals in the business.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Thank you, Commissioner French. Commissioner Forney.
Thank you. I'm sorry if I'm ignorant on this, but does the city parking app, is that being utilized in our parking meter system?
Commissioner Forney, it is. This is outside the scope of that. We have kind of a collaborative contract with the city of Minneapolis for Park Mobile, which is the app that both the city and the park board may use for our users to pay for parking at any meter, any electronic meter within the system. We've rolled that out to every lot over the past year. It used to be on-street parking only, where there were marked kind of meter slats like you see downtown Minneapolis. Now that service is available at every pay lot within the Minneapolis Park system because we treat an entire lot as that zone.
Wonderful. Thank you.
You're very welcome.
Thank you, Commissioner Forney. Commissioner Meyer.
So in the contract, when it says $147 per meter, does that mean like $147 per space or $147 for each kiosk?
Commissioner Meyer, it is for each kiosk. Each active kiosk meter, which has electronic components and Wi-Fi and cellular service and a whole bunch of bells and whistles that I don't know all the details about, but they're very technical pieces of equipment, and that's what it's for.
Okay, thank you.
You're very welcome.
Thank you, Commissioner Meyer. Seeing no other questions, thank you, Director Olson, very much. All those in favor of Resolution 2019-342, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, abstentions, resolution has been moved. With that, I'll take a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
All those in favor of adjournment, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, abstentions, we are adjourned.
I'm reconvening the regular meeting of the Minneapolis Park and Recreation Board, and I am resuming action on, are we ready to resume, Commissioner Meyer and Council Rice, are we ready to resume action on 2019-293? Okay, so 2019-293 has been moved and seconded, and we were in the midst of discussion when we postponed. Is there any further discussion on 2019-293? Commissioner Meyer.
Yes, so Council Rice sent some definitions. So in the for the state, they define a street or a highway. As a street or a highway means the entire width between boundary lines of any way or place, when any part thereof is open to the use of the public as a matter of right for the purposes of vehicular traffic. When I look at that, I think that doesn't necessarily apply to this one, because this one only says highway, whereas lots of other ordinances that are that we're repealing tonight say street or highway, but Council Rice believes that it would cover parkways, and Chief Fajardo agrees, so I will defer to their judgment and just note for the record that my intent, at least, was not to legalize hitching, so hopefully no one will attempt to do that.
Thank you, Commissioner Meyer. Is there any further discussion on the second and final reading of 2019-293 to a change in the Code of Ordinances? Is there any further discussion? All those in favor of 2019-293, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, abstentions, 293 carries. Moving on, I would entertain a resolution for 2019-386, a resolution to receive and file as a permanent record of the Secretary of the Board the annual financial report of the Minneapolis Park and Recreation Board for the year ending December 31st, 2018. Is there a motion?
So moved.
It's been moved. Is there a second?
Second.
It's been moved and seconded. Director Wiseman, we have a short presentation, and I think also welcome Ms. Erickson from the Auditor's Office. Director Wiseman.
Good evening, President, Board, and Commissioners. This resolution before you is to receive and file the annual financial report for the Minneapolis Park and Recreation Board for the fiscal year ended December 31st, 2018. The Office of the State Auditor is here to present the results of the audit. The audit commenced with an entrance meeting that was held in January, and it will be completed as of tonight with this presentation. Before I turn it over to the auditor, I wanted to first mention that during the performance of this audit, the state auditor reviewed compliance for 2 professional services agreements. The tests included state statutes, city and park board ordinances, public purpose, the MPRB procurement manual, and terms of the contract. The auditor found the 2 contracts were in compliance with the reference test items. The auditor was also asked during that time if they could randomly select a sample of additional professional services agreements from 2017 and 2018 to perform the same sort of testing. This type of testing was outside the scope of the annual audit. The MPRB is and will be entering into an agreed upon procedure engagement to perform this additional work, and we hope to have this engagement completed before the start of the 2019 annual audit. I will now turn it over to Stephanie Erickson from the Office of the State Auditor.
Welcome, Ms. Erickson.
Thank you, President Bourne. Good evening, President Bourne and members of the Park Board. I'm Stephanie Erickson with the State Auditor's Office, and I'm here to present the results of our audit. I first want to thank Julie Wiseman, Sue Fossey, and the rest of the Park Board finance staff for their cooperation and assistance during our audit. We do interrupt their workload quite often for our audit, so I do appreciate their help. We audited the Minneapolis Park and Recreation Board for the year ended December 31st, 2018, and we issued our opinion and our management and compliance report based on our audit. Park Board Commissioners should have received a copy of their copy of the management and compliance report electronically, and I believe that should have come out either late June or early July. And this report is also available on our website. We performed our audit in accordance with auditing standards generally accepted in the United States of America and with government auditing standards. Our opinion on the financial statements for the Park Board was dated June 24th, 2019, and it's included in the Park Board's annual financial report. Our report for the Park Board was unmodified, which is a clean opinion, and it's the best opinion that can be issued. This means that the financial statements are fairly presented and conform with applicable accounting standards. For 2018, the Park Board did not expend federal program expenditures in excess of $750,000, so we were not required to perform a single audit, or in other words, we were not required to look at federal programs. The Park Board's federal expenditures were included on the City of Minneapolis' schedule of expenditures and federal awards. Throughout our audit, any findings related to internal control, compliance, and Minnesota legal compliance, or management practices and other matters were discussed with Julie Wiseman and other Park Board staff. And even though an audit of federal programs was not required, we did follow up on a federal finding or federal program finding that we've had over the past few years, and we discussed our resolution or our testing of that with Park Board staff and management. We did still report that as a finding this year. It's a other matter. At the end of our audit, we discussed the written findings that were included in our management and compliance report in detail with members of management, with Superintendent Bangora, Deputy Superintendent Ringgold, and the Park Board's President Bourne. Our management and compliance report includes the Park Board's corrective action plan, which is the Park Board's response to our current year findings and how they will try to be resolved. And it also includes the Park Board's summary schedule of prior audit findings, which takes a look at last year's findings and gives a status update as to whether they were fully corrected, partially corrected, or not corrected. That's included in our report as well. The responses provided by Park Board management in the corrective action plan are not audited responses, so we will look at those in the upcoming audit. Our 2018 management and compliance report for the Park Board includes 3 findings. 1 was a new finding and 2 were carried over from the prior year. We reported on an audit adjustment, on the financial condition of the Permanent Improvement Capital Project Fund, and as well as a disaster grant relating to cash management for that FEMA grant that's been carried over. Any questions?
Thank you, Ms. Erickson. Are there questions for the auditor? Seeing none, I have a couple of questions. Director Wiseman, Ms. Erickson, you said at the start of this presentation that there were a couple of professional service agreements that that were asked to be looked at. Can you talk a little bit about those and again, any findings or lack thereof of findings?
We looked at 2 professional services agreements. They were specifically brought to our attention, so we did look at those 2 and tested those for the items that Julie said. It was compliance with state laws, city ordinance, park board ordinances, public purpose, the park board's procurement manual, and the terms of the contract. So we did test those 2 contracts for all of those items. I believe it was like 16 tests in total. We didn't have any findings on that. Our report stays silent if we don't have any findings.
Okay. And which contracts were those?
We looked at Kendall Killian and John Olson.
Okay. And there were no findings?
No.
Okay. And you did 16 different tests?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Thank you. Thank you. Are there any other questions for Ms. Erickson or the or Director Wiseman? I'll say thank you for the exceedingly thorough audit, Commissioner French.
Was there any any of those tests done for any other professional service contracts? I know you said you only looked at 2, but did you look at any other ones? Maybe not as extensively.
We do look at contracts overall in the audit, but that's mainly for legal compliance, which wouldn't have all of the same criteria as the ones that we listed, so it would be less in scope. But we would look at those for contracting procedures.
And everything came back okay?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you, Director Wiseman and Ms. Erickson. Seeing no further comments or questions, all those in favor of receiving and filing the financial report, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, abstentions? The resolution carries. Moving on to petitions and communications, I will start with Commissioner Musich.
Thank you, President Bourne. It's been very wet, as I'm sure everyone is aware. There are a number of trails in the 5th Park District that are again underwater that very briefly, the weekend of the bike tour, were open. They're underwater again. So please, everyone that's utilizing the trails, recognize that trails that typically would be separated are currently shared, and please yield to pedestrians so that we don't have any unfortunate accidents as a result of our changing climate. I'm also really excited that next week I get to use one of my work-sponsored volunteer days to volunteer with the Toro Company and the Minnesota Twins baseball team to do some renovations of the baseball fields at Pearl Park. So on Wednesday, we're going to be there all day working on that, and I'm super excited to be able to give back in that way to the community, and I look forward to seeing the kids out there playing on those fields. Hopefully it'll be a little bit less muddy than it has been in previous years, since we have a lot of low spots in the ag lime. So anyway, those will be gone, I'm hopeful, after this super exciting and fun volunteer project we're going to do on Wednesday. That's all I got. Thank you.
Thank you, Commissioner Musich. Commissioner Forney.
Thank you. I had a very exciting week last week. I'm going to the Nobel Conference at Gustavus, where it was on climate change. World-renowned speakers were at it. It was very, very enlightening. I'm still trying to figure out my takeaway of it. Like I say, it was a really powerful week, being that, the Friday before, all of the demonstrations around climate change by kids all over the world, the arrival of Greta Thunberg for the UN climate conference or summit. Anyway, it really was an amazing time, and I'm trying to figure out a way that we can use this narrative going forward. In my way, the way I view things, I almost feel like this is the total umbrella of what our vision is, we, the park board. It relates to everything, absolutely everything. If youth happens to be our strong interest in everything, climate change impacts them the most. And I just really, really encourage us to think about it. And I mean, how exciting to hear Trudeau indicating that he's going to be, planting 60 billion trees over the next 10 years. It really tells me that, we are on the right path here. I mean, all we're doing is 8,500 trees a year, but it is really making an impact, and I hope that we will continue those efforts. And like I say, the last thing I was going to say about this conference is the science is all there for climate change. The unfortunate thing is that we have been using that language, and what two of the speakers spoke so beautifully about is putting a face on the science. In other words, how is this impacting people directly? Very, very powerful speaker, an Inuit, talking about how their culture is completely at risk with climate change. And anyway, putting the human face on it, I think really, really resonates with people, and I hope that we will take that narrative as well. So, like I say, I'll try and figure out how we can put this into some sort of action, but I would really hope that we could take on that narrative in the next year. Lastly, I wanted to announce, I've mentioned this before, that the Parks Foundation is going to be having their Next Generation of Parks event. It's next Thursday. It's Mitch Sliver, who is the Commissioner of New York Parks and Recreation, and it's going to be at the University of Minnesota next Thursday at 7 p.m. It is a free event, but I'll encourage people to register for it. Thank you.
Thank you, Commissioner Forney. Commissioner French.
I guess I want to address some of the speakers that we had at open time today. A little concerned about some of the accusations made to our HR department, and I'm saying that because as a former park employee, I remember going to complain to our HR department and that really getting a lot of results. So I'm really empathetic to the young lady that came here tonight and said she went and complained and had issues with some of her supervisors about the way she was talked to at work or the way she was addressed, being a trans woman. I want to make sure that folks who work in our park board are welcome, no matter who they choose to love or how they decide to carry on in life. I want to make sure that this place is just as accepting and warming as any other place. So I want to make sure that we nip that in the bud. Other thing we talked about was Cedar Field. We had a lot of folks coming up here talking about Cedar Field tonight. The young man who the team was named after was a young man who actually went to South High School, which is a place where I worked at for about 19 years. This young man was revered. He couldn't, when he received the notification of his heart disorder, and he knew he needed a heart transplant, there was a nurse that followed him around every classroom, and that's how you knew what class Trinidad was in. It was because his nurse was out there. And when he couldn't play sports anymore because he was an avid sports player, he became the sports manager. And so when he finally passed, the devastation that happened at South was real. And the kids talked about Trinidad and what he meant to the community. That was real. The kids named their team the Red Bears. Let's be clear. The team named their team the Red Bears in honor of Trinidad. We want to name the park Red Bears in honor of Little Earth. That's what Little Earth wants. We're not naming this after a person, right? We're naming this after an ideal of a young man who, when he passed away, gave life to others by donating, different body parts. I don't want to get caught up on this whole naming thing that we've been going through for the last, year or so. It's something that the community wants. let's do it, let's make it happen. I encourage my other commissioners to go and talk to folks from Little Earth. I encourage Commissioner Hassan, whose district it is. I hope he would support me when I will actually next park meeting, I will be adding this to the agenda to see if we can get this name changed. So I'm asking for the support of other commissioners in this. And that's all I have to say today. Thank you.
Thank you, Commissioner French. Commissioner Colgill.
Thank you, President Bourne. I very much appreciate Commissioner Forney's rundown on the climate change conference, and just am excited by the enthusiasm there and the fact that we are in a climate crisis, and I think there are a lot of steps that we can take that are important to move this stuff forward. I had the pleasure of speaking or meeting with folks from the Forestry Department and with Assistant Superintendent Barrick, who was gracious enough to spend his time and some of his staff's time to discuss the efforts both within the city and the park board around climate resiliency and trees. It was a very fruitful meeting, I think. Got a lot of city folks very excited about what they can do in design guidelines for new development around trees, but also continuing that conversation so that we are maintaining our tree canopy cover and, of course, enhancing it in light of the many losses that we've experienced. That's just one piece of the pie, but that's been very exciting. Otherwise, I think that's all I have today. Thank you.
Thank you, Commissioner Colgill. Commissioner Meyer.
Thank you. I spent the last week in Baltimore for the NRPA National Conference. Most of it was fine, but I had a few particularly negative experiences there. One of which I'm sending a formal complaint to the NRPA about. During a session about homelessness, one of the presenters said that people going through chronic homelessness are animals and that they've lost all of their humanity. Overall, I didn't feel like I came back with anything really useful to share, so I don't think that I'll be going to the NRPA conferences in the future. Also wanted to invite everyone to the grand opening of Sheridan Memorial Park. It's this Saturday, 10:30 p.m. Hope to see you there.
10:30
Or 10:30 a.m. Yeah.
Thank you, Commissioner Meyer. Vice President Hassan.
Thank you, President Bourne. Well, first, I visited this week at the Phillips Aquatic Center. It's great. People are loving it. I was there in the morning, Monday morning, and there was a Monday night for adult classes. Things were going great. There was only one concern that some of the elders were saying, it's getting cold, so we need a hot tub. So maybe that's something to look into. I know, I understand it's cold, but they have to deal with for a couple, but something that we can look into, I think. I didn't promise anything. I said we can see what we can do to help them find a hot spot. I don't know where we're going to put it. It's very small. But I think it's one of the things that people are requesting, the aquatics. I want to thank the staff. There's also a woman-only class that happens that I encourage, people who want to have, who don't want to swim with other people that feel, they don't feel safe, swim with males, or whatever, their preference is. The staff is doing great. I also want to talk about the state park and the skate park. I think it's great. I've tried, last summer, and I didn't give up. But I think we should do whatever we can to make it happen at the skate park. And I'm sure the staff is doing a great job. Michael and everyone, the superintendent, they're all aware of it. And we'll just keep pushing. About Cedar Ave and Cedar Field, I respect that kid. I had a lot of stories about the kids that he grew up with and how it impacted their life. And I will support whatever it takes to make that happen. I think it's a great initiative that Commissioner Wendell is working on it. That's all.
Thank you, Vice President Hassan. Just a couple of things. I wanted to thank our executive team and our bargaining units for today hosting what I think was a very first productive superintendent's roundtable with all of our bargaining units. It was something that folks in our rank and file have been asking for. I think it was a super productive meeting and one of, I think, many more to come. So thank you, Superintendent, for having the vision to invite all of our rank and file to the table to have a direct line of communication with you and a direct line of communication with commissioners when appropriate. I actually regret I was not able to attend NRPA, so I regret that Commissioner Meyer had that experience. I think the entire board would support something, some sort of statement if you want to put something together. We're a leader in the field, and sadly too many people call Minneapolis parks home, and they are human beings and deserve to be treated with dignity and respect. I was not able to attend NRPA because the Board of Estimate and Taxation took a vote on the city's levy ceiling. Ceiling of 5.73% was approved at the Board of Estimate and Taxation, in contrast to a near 14% increase to the city's general fund. I'm looking forward to seeing the superintendent's recommended budget in the days ahead to see how we can meet this board's vision of investing in our youth. And while it's probably the least exciting thing, and sometimes folks tend to check out during that point of our presentation every year, I want to really thank Director Wiseman, and a special thanks to Superintendent Emeritus Mary Merrill for keeping the books in good hands. Oftentimes, in the 10 years that I've known Superintendent Merrill now, I've seen her work twice as hard for half as much recognition and half as much credit, and frankly, half as much trust. And we went into the entrance meeting of this year's audit with some pretty serious allegations against Superintendent Mary Merrill around her ethics in awarding professional service agreements. I was not at all surprised to see that this was one of the cleanest audits that the Minneapolis Park Board has ever had. So thank you again, Superintendent Emeritus Merrill, for again volunteering your time and putting up with a lot of unfounded accusations about your trustworthiness and your professional ethics. This organization continues to owe you a debt of gratitude. So seeing no further business, I would entertain a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
It's been moved. Is there a second? It's been moved and seconded. All those in favor of adjournment, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, abstentions, we are adjourned. Chair Forney.
Oh, back to thank you. Okay. Under legislative, okay. I'd like to reconvene the planning committee. And we are at our action item. I'll take a motion to move the resolution.
I'll move Resolution 2019-338, a resolution accepting the non-appointed Citizen Advisory Committee recommendations and approving concept plans for Holmes Park playground improvements.
Anybody want a presentation or have any questions about it? Okay, so thank you, Crystal, for being on point there. Anyway, all those in favor then of the resolution, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, abstentions, it is moved. And now we have a study report, and it is about Parks for All, and Terry Christensen is going to present our update about the Parks for All MPRB 2021 Comprehensive Plan Update.
Good evening, Chair Forney, Commissioners. I'm here tonight to give you an update on the comprehensive plan, the Minneapolis Park Board Comprehensive Plan, Parks for All. So just in quick review, this comp plan, our comprehensive plan, our current comprehensive plan ends in 2020, so we're working to create a new comprehensive plan that will act as our policy direction and our touchstone for the next decade or so of our park system. It's a really important tool for us to communicate to ourselves, to our future staff, to our community, what we do, what we believe in, our values. It builds on what works in our system and also will help identify gaps that we need to determine future directions around. So over the last 9 months or so, we've been in scoping and then now shifting into a vision and discovery stage. We had a really robust summer of engagement, so have been out in community, been talking to staff, have lots of great information that's been coming in, and so we're here tonight as we shift and have found some patterns across the different conversations that people are interested in diving deeper into as part of our comprehensive plan. So we're here tonight just to share some of those patterns that we're spotting and some of the key themes that are emerging, and then to share some next steps with you. So where we've been during the summer of engagement, we went to approximately 100 events. We had all of our PACs, or our Project Advisory Committee, which is primarily director level staff across the agency from all divisions and departments, was out in community listening and talking to folk about the future of our parks. And I thank all of our PAC for stepping up and doing that. We've received just over 3,000 comments over the last few months. This map shows just a snapshot of the city that represents, the purple dots represent some of the events that we attended during the summer. There's actually a story map online that you can find a link to on the project website, so I encourage you to go. We're updating that weekly. You can see where we've been and really working hard to get out across the city. So here's some more of the how. There's we're prepping for focus groups and work groups, so as we shift into these deeper conversations around topics. And that's something we'd love to hear from commissioners around. If you have folk you'd like to nominate for work groups or focus groups, I'll be circulating a list of topics, and would love to invite you to nominate folk to be on those. And that will be a mix of technical advisors from partner agencies, experts in the field, and in some cases community members. There also have been some staff workshops where we're working our way around the agency to talk to all staff, and have heard from close to 200 staff at this stage. And really it's been just wonderful to dive in and talk to each division and department about what their hopes and dreams are for our agency. We've also conducted interviews with staff and many of the commissioners. Our Project Advisory Committee meets monthly. Again, we've attended lots of community events. Our youth design team is up and running. They've shadowed a number of park board departments and divisions to get a better sense of how we operate and make policy recommendations all along the way. They'll actually be presenting at a youth summit at MIA this Saturday about to engage more youth in the planning process. And it's a youth-led workshop. It's really exciting. The CAC, so the Community Advisory Committee, you've been working on getting your appointments to us, and I thank you for that. We will be bringing a slate to you in November, it's looking like. And it looks at this stage that we'll be holding our first CAC meeting in December. We've also got community collaborators hard at work, and I'll show a couple images of what they've been up to. Again, that's the small grants that are going out to community groups to convene their own conversations about parks. We have a texting tool that has just gone live, and you'll see signs in parks about texting. So there's really an emphasis in getting out to where people are and just making this really easy for people to engage with. But we will be holding more traditional public forums through park talks, panel discussions, and the CAC. We've also, of course, got our suggestion boxes at rec centers and a survey online. All right, so this image is of a community collaborator. So the Volunteers of America have a seniors program for Hmong elders, and they do a lot of really wonderful programming for them and during the day. And so they are working with us to interview and then do a photographic kind of essay and eventually an exhibit at the Volunteers of America site and sort of on the edge of downtown Minneapolis to showcase the stories of these Hmong elders and their relationship to parks. So it's going to be a really beautiful exhibit, and we will certainly extend an invitation to all of you to join us at the opening. This is a great example of one of the many community events that we went out to. Again, this summer was really about going to where people are already gathering and talking to them about parks. And this was at Audubon at a summer ice cream social. So here's some highlights of what we've heard in terms of those key themes that are emerging that now we'll be diving deeper into these topics. These are the topics that the community staff and we also have some themes we've heard from commissioners that we'll be drilling down into as we shift and take a deeper look at these topics. So from staff, we've heard programs and activities are really critical, youth development, climate resilience, accessibility, and inclusion. We've also started asking more and more about values. So environmental sustainability, economic sustainability, equity and inclusion, consistency, adaptability, multidimensionality, and visionary are all important values to staff. From community, we've heard loud and clear that outdoor amenities are really important to them in our parks, and they want to make recommendations to us about that. Play is critical, aquatics, programs and activities, natural areas, maintenance, park events, safety, court sports, health and wellness, arts and culture, youth, food systems, park acquisition and retention, and equity. So again, this is approximately 3,000 comments, and we've coded all of the comments and identified key themes out of each of the comments that we've received. Some of the key themes we're hearing from commissioners include climate resilience, youth development and programming, affordable housing, parkways, gentrification and displacement, public health, homelessness, water resources, and golf and recreational facilities. So again, there's not at this stage strategies and goals that have emerged around those specific themes, but that's our next step, is to dive into these different themes and to generate the actual direction on these various topics. And so we wanted to share a little bit about how we see the next year or so playing out. So again, we want to adopt this new comprehensive plan by the end of 2020. And so we're providing a plan update to you tonight, and then we'll be convening a committee of the whole later this month, and we'll be doing some future visioning with you and future scenario planning around what future are we planning for is the question that we'll focus on that evening, and I look forward to working with all of you on that. Then the next step with you will be that we'll come back and do either a committee of the whole or have a study item that's focused on park innovation. So really looking around the country and internationally at what examples there are to sort of seed and inspire us in our own thinking. This spring, we hope to have a park summit, which will actually bring together all of the different folk that are involved in the planning process to share their recommendations with each other. So we will make sure to invite you to that. That includes the CAC and the PAC and the work groups, youth design team, community collaborators. We hope to come to you in May with some key directions that we're hearing that sort of, before we start to draft the plan, coming and doing kind of a gut check and have some big, sort of these larger patterns again for you to respond to. We will then come back shortly thereafter with a draft for you to review. And after that, public comment period will open. So we hope by fall we'll have wrapped up public comment period and be able to update the plan and then bring to you by the end of the year the final plan to adopt. So I also wanted to just make sure that it was clear sort of the cadence that the CAC will likely be meeting. And we've outlined in their application that we anticipate it'll be about 5 to 7 times throughout the course of the year. So again, likely starting in December, every other month. And again, they will be providing insight and connections throughout the planning process. They are not a recommending body, as many CACs are. It's a unique CAC role. And then we've also began to think about this series of conversations, which we're going to call Park Talks. There'll be panel discussions and more public forum just to give people an opportunity to dive deeper into some of the topics that have emerged. And bringing in park board staff and experts from the field on different topic areas that we talked about in those previous slides, to have conversation and give a little more space in a more sort of public workshop dynamic for people from the community to engage in conversation. So we'll be sending out a schedule of hopefully a series sort of announcement in the next month, and we hope that you will come out and attend those and listen to the Park Talks. And then finally, these work groups, again, we'll be sending out an invitation to you to nominate folk, but the idea here is almost like a technical advisory committee, but arranged around topic areas, including topics like gentrification and displacement, climate resilience, arts, culture, and historical resources, to name a few. And so, again, those work groups will be asked to come to the Park Summit with their recommendations to us on there. And there'll be a mix of park board staff on those work groups, as well as, again, experts in the field or agency partners like the City of Minneapolis, Hennepin County. So that's the timeline. And just in my last couple of slides here, thought it would be helpful, just as we gear up for this next stage, some of the questions I'd like you as commissioners and at this stage in the process to consider. What are the values that should be central to our agency over the next decade? What is the future we are planning for? What are some park innovations, both nationally and internationally, that we can learn from? What are the issues that are critical for our system to consider into the future? So feel free to shoot me emails in the middle of the night. I am here to capture your insights, appreciate your input. Just to trigger some thinking, this is our current our current comp plan. We've also got a list of values that inspire our agency and our work. So this is that list. And thank you. Any questions?
Oh, sorry. Commissioner Music. Thank you, Carrie.
Thank you, Chair Forney. Thank you, Chair Forney. I'm not on this committee, but I appreciate being given the opportunity to speak. You mentioned a number of times the community collaborator effort that we're doing as part of this project. Am I correct in understanding that we are still accepting applications from community collaborators?
Commissioner Musich, yes. In fact, we have another deadline coming up in December.
Okay, and is that the last one?
Yeah, we may, depending on what kind of turnout we get, we may have a final call in March, but it's looking likely that December will be our last round.
Okay, so we should encourage people in our communities to submit applications
Absolutely,
now.
And I can send out another reminder to everyone about that.
Okay, fantastic.
And the community.
And in that reminder, it'd be awesome if you could include for us commissioners just some conversation starters or ways that we could get the message out on social media and in our newsletters about this project and how people can get involved and ways for us to prod the public to engage on this process. Because I'm happy to do that, but I sometimes struggle with the appropriate wording. And so if you're already crafting that message for other uses, it'd be great if you could share those with us as well so we can help you with getting the engagement happening.
Thank you, Commissioner. Commissioner. And we do have a Facebook page if anyone ever wants to share out what we have generated there too. That's another vehicle, but
Yep.
Absolutely, thank you for
And I
the
have been doing
suggestion.
that. I just noticed I don't get as many views of the things that I share off that page as I do if it's something that I post directly.
All right.
So that's why I asked for that. We talked about, you talked about engaging people where they were in the parks this summer. Will we be doing similar engagement in the winter to engage winter users, as that might be a different population than we would see in the parks in the summer?
Thank you, Commissioner. So we've wrapped up our, because of the nature of the engagements where it's these almost like an intercept, it's a very sort of high level, hey, what are your dreams for Minneapolis parks? We wrapped up that stage, I think, of the process and are wanting to dive deeper into conversation. And so while we do have the suggestion, sort of the Dream Park boxes in each rec center, we'll have to think creatively about how to engage winter users in deeper conversations. I mean, absolutely still going to where people are gathering, and we're making our way around to different community groups, neighborhood organizations, and are happy to attend other types of clubs or athletic leagues to make sure that we're hearing from folks. So I appreciate that recommendation, and we'll think of creative ways to do that.
All right, fantastic. Thank you for the encouragement of some dream journaling as well. I look forward to dreaming about Parks for All and sending you some emails in the middle of the night.
In the middle of the night. Commissioner Coagle.
Thank you, Chair Forney. Thanks for the presentation. I don't have any questions, but I'm very excited to move forward with this, and I look forward to the brainstorming with commissioners on, was it the 23rd of this month? I am particularly interested in the climate resiliency pieces of this and the urgency around which we need to I think change our practices on some of those things, and so I'm excited to work with all commissioners on thinking about that, as well as how that kind of, there's a real connection between our need to think boldly about climate change and our need to serve youth. The climate movement is being led by youth right now. Some of those folks are coming from Minneapolis, and I just think that this comprehensive plan is one way that we can dovetail these two really critical efforts. And so any commissioners who haven't thought much about the comp plan yet, I think this is an exciting way to have a long-term impact on our park system, both in terms of our impact on thinking about how youth are served in our system, and also how our system is a beacon for an example of what climate resiliency really looks like in an urban environment. Thanks.
Thank you. Thank you, Carrie, for the presentation. I am very excited about this, and I appreciate, though, that you clarified that you don't have a testing tool, you have a texting tool.
That's right. Thank you. Texting, TEXT. That's right.
I thought, really, we're going to test people on this? Okay. Anyway, and to piggyback on Commissioner Musage's comments, those final questions that you had to us, I think that would be a wonderful thing that, we can pepper out, and asking people and engaging in conversation. I think that would be those were good questions. And I tried to write them all down, but I wasn't able to. Anyway, and then, yes, a reminder that we do have, we are having another board meeting on October 23rd. And do we know time and location?
We are working on time and location, and we'll confirm with you this week.
Okay, great. Yeah, I just want to make sure it gets on everybody's agenda, because this is the Uber of master planning, and we need everybody's voices on this. So I'm looking forward to it. Oh, excuse me, Commissioner Musage, more.
Thanks, Meg. Commissioner Forney, I plan my life around the meetings that are posted on our website, and this October 23rd meeting is not on the website yet.
I had to, excuse me, the 23rd is a Wednesday.
Yeah, it is a Wednesday.
Right.
But it's a Wednesday when we typically wouldn't have a meeting. So I'm just going to reiterate the ask I've asked a number of times. If we could please be notified with as much forewarning as possible about changes to the schedule so that we can accommodate that with the rest of our lives. I'd really appreciate it. Thank you.
Secretary Ringel, you. Johnny in the spot there.
Chair Forney, Chair Forney, Commissioner Musich, absolutely. There were a few things we were still tying up on it. That's why we hadn't published it yet, but we will be doing it shortly.
Can I assume that it's somewhere around our normal schedule timing?
It would be a typical 5 p.m. to 7 p.m. And we actually would have 2 items likely that night, both this and the employee survey.
Wonderful. Thank you for that clarity. I appreciate it. See now, I don't think we have anything else on the agenda, so I'll take a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
All those in favor, please signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed? Abstentions? We are adjourned. I'm assuming legislative.
Well,
I'm assuming.
noting the absence of a quorum, I'll request that Vice President Hassan make a temporary appointment to the Legislative and Intergovernmental Committee.
He already is. He's on it.
I'll appoint someone.
I need a third person.
Can't you appoint people as the chair?
Council Rice from the chair.
President, that appointment, then since the president's absent,
Oh, I see.
Vice President Hassan has the power to do that.
I'll appoint Commissioner Forney.
Thank you.
All right, noting the temporary appointment of Commissioner Forney, Secretary, please call the roll.
Commissioner Forney.
Here.
Vice President Hassan.
Here.
Commissioner Meyer.
Present.
You have a quorum.
Before we proceed, I just want to make a note about that appointment. For the previous appointment, the temporary appointment that President Bourne made, he asked my consent for it, and he did that because it's a pet peeve of mine that we do that. It feels, I don't know, kind of manipulative to have that procedure, and I feel like we should take a look at the structure of our committees going forward. Like, does it make sense to have just 5 people per committee? Would it perhaps make more sense to just have all 9 of us be on every committee? I mean, I feel like we kind of treat it that way anyways. Like, we let every commissioner comment. I don't feel like we need to waste our time each time that we want to speak when we're not on a committee, but starting out by saying, I'm not on this committee, so I appreciate the opportunity to speak. Like, I think we should take a look at that for the next year. That said, is there a motion to approve the agenda?
So moved.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Nay. That passes. Is there a motion to approve the minutes of Wednesday, September 18th, 2018?
So moved.
All those in favor say aye. Aye.
I'll abstain.
So that abstention is noted. Is there a motion for Resolution 2019-337?
So moved. I will move Resolution 2019-337, a resolution authorizing the Minneapolis Park and Recreation Board staff to apply for grants through the 2020 Hennepin Youth Sports Program up to the amount of $300,000 each for athletic field improvements at Powell Park Athletic Field, improvements at Painter Park, athletic field improvements at Phelps Park, and tennis dome replacement related to the Fred Wells Tennis and Education Center located adjacent to the Leonard H. Neiman Sports Complex at Fort Snelling.
Thank you. Mr. Svensson, can you come and update us on this and speak to your recommendations?
God bless.
Chair Meyer, Commissioners. Tonight we just have the approval before you for the 2020 Hennepin Youth Sports Facility Program grants, or excuse me, Program Facility Grants applications. Last time when I was here, we just talked about what this program is about. I won't go back. If there are commissioners that have other questions about how this funding works, I'd be glad to answer those later or later after the presentation. There are some criteria that the Park Board uses and that Hennepin County have identified for criteria. We try to follow that. As you can see, one of those halfway down in Hennepin County is really community support, a number of youth served. So when staff work together, taking your input during the last meeting, listening to staff, it's really a combination of recreation staff, planning staff, trying to pull together a list of projects to bring before you to apply for. I went through this last time, so I won't, but been a full range of types of projects that we've received Hennepin Youth Sport Program facility grants for, so that's exciting. In fact, it was mentioned earlier tonight at the open time, you know, in 2018 we received funding for a skate park at Central Gym Park, so all types of projects and all related to serving the youth. Just a real quick summary of those projects from 2009 on, and just how they've been matched with MPRB funding or other types of funding, and really equated to just about $12 million worth of improvements over the last 10 years. Okay, so we just get down to the Hennepin County Commissioner map here, and I just want to kind of make sure we're all aware here. So 7 districts within the county. There are 3 districts that impact or that overlap or within Minneapolis. And so when we choose projects that are within the 3 districts, District 2, 3, and 4, we have been informed, kind of coached by the Minnesota Amateur Sports Commission that take our applications and take applications throughout the county to really think about trying to have one project or 1 or 2 projects per district only that we would apply for. And in the past, they have thought that each commissioner has about $300,000 to give to agencies. So we've tried to use that amount. That's why in the action you see that it's we're applying up to $300,000. So when I was here last time, or so before you are the three districts and kind of the projects that we have for each of those districts. When I was here 2 weeks ago talking about District 2, we have an agreement with MPS where we were asked in 2020 grants not to apply for projects within Hennepin County Commissioner Fernando's district. We found out, staff found out, that MPS is not applying this year for any projects within District 2. So then we were putting forth tonight just a project which I'll go into a little bit. So that's why before I said, hey, nothing in District 2 because of our agreement. MPS is not applying, so we're putting forth the project. District 3, Commissioner Green's district, Painter Park, again, that was presented to you before. District 4 in Connolly's district, we have 2 projects. One was a suggestion that I heard here by a few commissioners to really go back and apply again for Phelps Park. Last year we applied for $250,000 and received only $57,000. So I'll go into that a little bit in more detail. And then again, a group that we partnered with that has a facility on leased park board land is the Fred Wells Tennis and Education Center. Here is just the distribution. So even though I don't have the Hennepin County district lines here, but you get the understanding that Commissioner Fernando's district covers number 1, project 1, and Commissioner Green's district covers project number 2, and Commissioner Connolly's district number 4 covers our projects 3 and 4. So the first one is Falwell Park. One of the things that Commissioner Musich, you mentioned last time is looking back at Phelps. We didn't receive all the funding when we applied. Back in 2018 when we applied for Falwell, we also did not receive the full funding. Yet as we put our projects together, and bid our projects out. Bids are coming back 15, 20, sometimes 30% higher or over our estimate. So we received some funding for Fallwell Park, approximately $100,000. We would like to go back and apply for additional funding to really work on, finalize and be able to complete work on the athletic field that's located just west of the current rec center. This image that you see before you is from the north side, North Service Area master plan, and it reflects kind of the changes that are being proposed. And really, it's really to improve that multi-use field. One of the interests that the community has is to add athletic field lighting to that soccer field, so it could be programmed longer and also help in safety and additional use for that park. So that's one of the projects that we're going to that we're asking you to approve for us to apply for. Painter Park is in Commissioner Green's district. Painter Park, of course, is within the Southwest Service Area, and that master plan process is still ongoing. But one of the things that we have learned through our staff, again, is that the athletic field improvements are part of this plan and stay here. So our idea is to really improve the play. Painter Park is graded, this area that we've identified, that's graded with catch basins in the center, so it was graded so it would you could flood it to have ice. Of course, we don't have ice on Painter Park, so we want to change the grade, improve proper drainage, have irrigation, etc., and have a natural turf field for better neighborhood play, whatever that field play would be. So that's the one that we would ask your support for within Commissioner Green's district. So now we're back to Phelps, Commissioner Connolly's district, District 4. So again, we have funding here. We have funding for wading pool or splash pad improvements here. We have funding available for the playground. We did receive $57,000 for kind of youth athletic play equipment features, which is what's in our that is in the plan. What we would be going back for is additional funding to help with athletic field improvements, which we don't have the money for. The funding that we would be looking for may not do everything that we would want to do here, but there are some main improvements that if we were able to get that funding that we would work on and include in our bid. We bid this project out late summer. Bids came back significantly over our estimate. So we're looking at a slight redesign and rebidding Phelps at what we hope to be a better time for contractors to look at projects. So we're putting this out January and February of 2020 for a spring summer, fall 2020 construction. And we think we'll have it'll be a better time. And so if we were to get this additional funding, we would add that project, add the field improvements into the project that we'd move forward for bidding. The fourth project relates to the Fred Wells Tennis and Education Center. Again, I just have some images that show their tennis courts, but if you remember, Fred Wells Tennis and Education Center was established approximately 18 years ago. They leased land, they built a facility, they leased land from the Minneapolis Park Board. They raised, there's two bubbles that are, again, approximately 20 years old, right, that have to be replaced. They raised funding to replace the first bubble and do some other improvements. And they're seeking to request a full amount of $300,000 to replace the second, or what they call the back bubble. Those overall costs are about $500,000, and $300,000 would come from this grant. So we have 4 projects before you per the action item, and I would take questions or and again hope for your support that we can move forward with the applications. We'll come back to the full board if we make it through committee tonight. Commissioner Meyer will come back on the 16th for full board, And then applications are due November 4th of this year.
Thank you. Commissioner Koga.
Thank you, Chair Meyer. So I just have to ask this question because I've been getting lobbied by folks in my district, and there's a question about this skate park. It seems clear to me, the skate park at Elliott Park, it seems clear to me that there has been funding through the Hennepin Youth Sports Grant Program for a skate park at Green Central. That is correct?
Yeah. Correct, 2018,
right.
yes.
In 2018. And has that commenced in the reconstruction of that space, or where are we at in that process?
Chair Meyer, Commissioner Colville, it has not started construction. It's a long story, and I'd be glad to go over more detail, but it relates, we postponed part of the design and construction of the playground while we made the other park improvements at Central.
Right.
Part of that improvement was within the new athletic field, there's a underground infiltration facility that's designed to account for that square footage of the skate park. So we wanted to get all that built, kind of get through that, get the field back under use, get the playground back to use for the school board, and then we would start the skate park.
Okay.
We're working through some design issues with our City of Skate partner.
Okay.
Yes, we have $250,000 of grant money available for that project, plus a little bit remaining on the overall park improvement project. And really, that's what we've talked to them about, that we have to do that park with.
So, but that's not enough for all of the project?
It's not enough for what they want. Again, what staff have talked to them about is they have a series of, if you will, pods in this design.
Right.
And so can we do one pod? Can we do two pods for that $250,000 and add to it as funding becomes available? So that's what our discussion is.
Right.
And they're helping, one part of the donation is design work.
Right.
So we're a little bit beholden to them taking our input and then coming up with a design.
I see.
So I don't know, does that help to answer?
That's helpful. I guess as I'm thinking through this, I mean, I'm not on this committee. I look forward to seeing what the recommendation is. But just along the scope of the park, the skate parks, you have two different skate parks that seem to be half funded, and neither of them are getting done while construction costs are going up and concrete costs are going up, and we just kind of are holding these pots of money separately. I don't know if there are any solutions, but it seems a little bit frustrating, I guess. I don't know if you have a response, but I'm not asking for one necessarily.
Chair Meyer, Commissioner Kogel, if I may.
Yeah.
I think there is maybe a solution there. I think staff level, we want to build these skate parks. We're all about that, right? But we live in reality. And just as you said, the longer we wait, prices are not going down, they're going up. So we're going to try to come up with a solution there. And sometimes when we work with our partners, the partners don't get everything that they want, right? The reality is we still have to build something that provides some type of park amenity for the community. Right. So the partner may not get everything, but we think we've got some solutions. We'd like to try to work with staff and work with City of Skate to try to develop a solution to our funding issue.
Okay, thank you.
Commissioner Forney.
Thank you. I am on this committee. I don't say that. Sorry, anyway. Cliff, thank you for the fine presentation. I'm very supportive of the recommendations here. I did ask last time about Painter and possibility of resurfacing the tennis courts, and I just wondered if that had been, talked about at all with staff.
Chair Meyer, Commissioner Forney, so within the 2020 proposed five-year CIP, there is money available for Painter. What we're proposing today is to, focus on the money that we would receive on the field. But we would work with the community, make sure we understand what that master plan that's yet to be adopted, but we know we feel it's going to come soon to the board. So we would work with the community if the tennis court is still a part of that. and the neighborhood felt that that was a priority, then, yeah, we would work towards that end.
Great, thank you. No, I really appreciate that, and I will convey that to that community. And I agree with Commissioner Cogill that it sounds like there has been a little bit of breakdown of communication and with the city of Skate, and I know how well our staff is in communicating, and hopefully all of that can get resolved in some way. And I know how, I'm sorry, I don't have hands-on with out at the Wells tennis, but I know how much the inner city is used by youth and how critical that is. So I'm very delighted with this legislative agenda, or excuse me, we're in the legislative committee. But anyway, these youth grants, I think this is marvelous, and look forward to supporting it.
Thank you, Commissioner Forney. A couple questions. What do you anticipate to be the breakdown in your application between your request for Phelps and the request for Fred Wells?
Chair Meyer, I believe that right now we would follow the kind of our what we've done in the past when we've had other groups that have wanted us to act as the LGU for the Hennepin Youth Sport Program money. So we would follow the wishes of Fred Wells and ask for that full 300. If the board up to that 300 that the board would, if the board adopts it tonight. With Phelps, what we need to do is when we talk to Minnesota Sports Commission is we really need to look at our funding. We asked for 250 last time. They gave us 57. We may ask for that balance of what we were awarded last time, so that 197, something like that, in grant funding for within Commissioner Conley's district.
So am I understanding correctly that you're basically going to request $497,000?
Yes.
When you make those submissions, will you be prioritizing one over the other?
Chair Meyer, this is where it gets to be a little bit difficult here, right? So we will do our very best and write the best grant application. Fred Wells Tennis and Education Center, they'll have to supply some information to us to follow. There's a very strict kind of format that we have to follow. They will supply that information. They'll supply the financial breakdown. They'll supply letters of support. Recreation, our recreation department may also have a few letters of support if we're using their services. But staff won't prioritize. We'll try to have ours as an equal with Fred Wells' application, but they'll go in at the same time under this action item. There's specific language in the action that we have to include in the grant application.
Okay. And so you're not recommending?
Commissioner Meyer?
Yes.
Just a question, does it matter that Fred Wells is not in the city of Minneapolis?
Or Hennepin County? It is
No,
in
it's
Hennepin
Hennepin
County.
It has to be in Hennepin County. It's not in Minneapolis.
Chair Forney, Council Rice, I know it's within the district. It's on parkland that we...
No, Fred Wells is located in Fort Snelling, which is an unincorporated township within Hennepin County.
Yep. To my knowledge, Council Rice, it does not. We can ask that question. If you'd like, I can reach out to Minnesota Amateur Sports Commission and find out.
So, you know, we have had a lot of people from City of Skate reach out to us. You're not recommending Elliott Park for this year. What can we tell them that they could help do to make it successful for an application next year?
Chair Meyer, I think that there's, from a staff level, we certainly understand their passion, and we support that as well. We may not move as quickly as they would like us to. We have some partners that come forward that we cooperate with that understand that, and they will help guide. They may take portions of that design. We've had partners that have actually built things and then given them to us. So when we follow our process, it takes a while. So we'd ask for their patience. If we can't work out a solution for Elliott now, maybe, and we would strongly consider an application in 2021 to Hennepin Youth Sport Program to either fully fund Central or to fully fund Elliott. But I think there's some balance here that we could come up with City of Skate. That's what staff feels.
Okay. So I'll give my personal thoughts on it. I would really like to see us get more skate parks funded in the city, however we do it. It can be through these grants. It could be through an addition to our CIP to fund it directly from the park board money. But I believe that these facilities are really well used, and I would like to do whatever we can to get them funded. When I look at the 3 different projects that we're proposing, or that we've considered for County District 4, in my personal ranking, I would put Elliott Park at the top. And one of the reasons for that is what Council Rice mentioned, that Fort Snelling's not even in Minneapolis. I don't know what the breakdown is of who they're serving, but Elliott Park is right in the center of the city. That said, I'm not going to propose an amendment at this time because of your recommendation, but I do hope we can get there next year. Vice President Hassan.
Thank you, President Meyer, Chair Meyer. Well, I'll just echo what everyone said. Commissioner Cogill and Commissioner Meyer, I'm very frustrated about that skate park is not on top of your priority. I mean, I'll recommend the recommendation. But before the next meeting, is there a way we can, the staff can go back, maybe find another way to add, include, or that other organizations can raise money too, so they can both be included in this recommendation? I mean, they ask right now, Fred, they do a great job, but I don't want I want to see if there's a way that we can amend it. In this, I'm not happy with how skate park hasn't been prioritized in this context. So, and I'm very frustrated. I mean, and it's going to be hard for me to make a decision right now. I mean, do you have an answer? Is there a way the staff can go back and maybe reorganize, maybe right now? Is there, okay, this is plan A. What about, is there a plan B?
Chair Meyer, Commissioner Hassan, we have an action before you right now. We had a study report 2 weeks ago, so we're bringing these items back to you for approval. Within the planning department, we have A, B, C, D, E. We have an infinite number of plans, but we have before you an action item that identifies items to be moved forward in the grant for the application.
Secretary Ringel.
Chair Meyer, commissioners, at this point, if commissioners would want something changed or added, you could make an amendment to change or add it, however you would want to do that. Or you could ask staff to bring back a recommendation at the next meeting in terms of what would have to be dropped in order for something to be added. Those would probably be your options right now.
I was about to make the same recommendation for Vice President Hassan. If you would, if you feel prepared to propose an amendment tonight, that would be in order, or you can.
Go ahead.
Or you can do that at the next board meeting if you'd like. I previously saw Commissioner Forney's and Musage's lights on. Do you have any further comment? And Vice President Hassan, were you finished with your comments? Your lights on?
I'm done.
Okay.
Thanks.
All right. Seeing no other comments, is there a motion to adjourn? Or, sorry, we have to take a vote, sorry. All those in favor of Resolution 2019-337, please say aye. Aye.
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? That carries. Now is there a motion to adjourn?
So moved.
All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? We are adjourned.